Incremental routines, yet another section of the Pleasurable Guide to Supermemo, the mastery cycle. Here it's about the advanced running Supermemo for the first time. That's the section we already covered on the fluency track. And basically those are all of the diminishing returns. This section is different than usual, and it's because I already recorded that when I started the fluency cycle. Because the first three, I did the fluency and the mastery together. So basically those videos are from noob friendly, let's say, but are details you didn't need to do before. That's why we can cover this now, after you have done the fluency cycle, but even though there are diminishing returns. Well, we'll see. We'll start with more or less the same order. We'll start with updating Supermemo subversions. Hey, I have the 19. There's a 19.1. How do I update this? Want to know there's a new Supermemo version released? When you will know when there will be Supermemo 20 or 21 and whatever. Then some other concepts more in detail that were skipped in favor of going as quick as possible to the incremental ring flow. Supermemo confuses you before it helps you, doesn't follow the standard rules of user experience. Other levels, we only cover the default, the basic, and went directly to the professional. We will see them, let's say the middle, and what it unlocks. Some limitations when you change that, extra menus that you unlock, so more or less, if you follow some level in the middle, before the basic and the professional, what you unlock at this stage, more or less. In the help menu, the rest of the things in the help menu, that this goes to some web pages on the help and so on. Then the splash image, you can change it. You don't need to have the logo of Supermemo if you don't want to, how you restore it. Then the question of the day, when this pops, you can disable it, but you can also memorize it. This creates like an item for you. Then some not high yield, but some issues you may face, like high DPI setting, especially if you use a laptop. If you use antivirus, you'll have a false positive. How to install it? I hope this never happens, or it happens in the sense that you upgrade and you want to get rid of older versions instead. And then some other stuff that now are diminishing returns. We presented the themes as well. Yeah, now there's a slight difference between Supermemo 18 and 19. So if you use both versions, because of Supermemo Assistant, let's say, now you know some of the differences. One of the bugs that you trigger, the layouts are shared across collections. Why? Because in the fluency track, in the fluency cycle, we said we will only use one collection. So now everything that we have done will pop or might pop some use cases or settings for multiple collections. This is one example. That now you know that layouts are shared across collections from now on. And they're still more nuanced, because you have the default when there's no one set, so it's still not that straightforward, like the last used, for instance. So you really, as a master, you will need to understand what Supermemo means by last used and how dynamically it changes that. Oops, there's a typo. And used. Then trick to clear the unused layouts. Let's say that you have done several. Let's say the random, I want to get rid of the random forever. How you do that? Then layouts for dual screens, two monitors. This is only possible from starting from Supermemo 19. Editing layouts directly from the file. That is advanced. And then something that is the last section, and is the ABC collection. First is the help welcome ABC, by the way, not the ABC collection. Then it's okay, I have done the ABC collection, what do I do now? And then, do I continue the same collection, or I start a new collection from scratch? Or, oh shoot, I deleted the ABC collection, I want to get it again. How do I do that? It's possible to do, by the way. And then a more personal video of what I think are misleading points of the ABC collection, in the sense that it oversimplifies too much, that the message is borderline misleading, basically. And we can finish with this because we covered the fluency cycle. So even if I say a lot of jargon and something that we didn't cover in this section before, the running Supermemo for the first time, we have seen the entire course first. So now it's just going to the missing returns. That doesn't mean you're not going to learn much. It's just less. The ratio of time versus output is less than before. Even though this section and the next ones, it will be like more lower, even lower than usual, because of what we said, that this has been pushed in favor of getting the fluency as compact as possible. So those are the contents of the running Supermemo for the first time, advanced or mastery. So without further ado, let's start the section. So in this video, we are going to see how you can update Supermemo. So now I actually forced an older version. So now I'm running the 1907. That, hey, now I know there's a new version. Actually, several versions that I missed, right? So I want to update to the latest Supermemo version within 19. How do I do that? So the first thing you need to do is close down Supermemo. It cannot be running. Then you need to execute this file, sm19 inst for installer. Basically, this installed the latest version of Supermemo because it downloads it from their servers. If you don't have this file, it could be on your downloads folder. It's a file I always suggest to back up, as well as any other version you have. If you didn't, then you will need to re-download it. So you need to contact Supermemo to verify, hey, I bought Supermemo, please give me access to this file once again. I still have it, so I just run this. Yeah, next. In this case, update. You don't, for whatever reason you wanted the 07 and 1907 and 19.1 on their own at the same time, you could do it. There's no reason for that. Then, I will just update. Supermemo, everything. I don't want the desktop or quick. It's already there. Now, do you see? Oh, sorry. My mistake. Well, this is an example that if you update and you have the most recent version, nothing happens. I will do it again, because actually if you notice the domain, the folder is Supermemo without the 19. Yes, now see Supermemo without the 19. Nice. That is because I have many. I have the 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19. You are not going to have that. Perhaps the 18, if you want to use Supermemo system, and that will be about it. I have many because I do tutoring and I adjust to the version the tutorial has. No, nothing other than that. Nice. Do you see now it connects to the internet? It's super quick, and then also downloads a new version. Then what happens? It's saying that, hey, here the layout dot contains this file, right? Because you have Supermemo, the layout in the bin here, the Supermemo as well, among others, right? You say, yeah, in this case, no, I don't want to replace because I will get the default. I have customized that already, so I say no. Same for the styling. It's not just a layout, the styling. No, I want to keep my styling. And ini as well. I want everything. Then contains the executable. In this case, yes. The ABC, no, I don't want the ABC. Nice. So that is the other case you may experience. Now we run Supermemo. I can run it for different places in my installation. Do you see I still keep my layout? Nice. So as simple as that. Could be the case that if you say yes instead of no, then you will need to redo the layouts, remodify the styling, and so on. In case you misclick and have selected yes in that case, just check a backup, the files, and copy paste the files. As easy as that. So in this video, we're going to cover how you can know when there's a new version in Supermemo, because you may have noticed that there's no alert, no notification. So you can go here on About. There's no way, nowhere that says, hey, there's a new version for you. Do you want to install it? Like in Anki and many apps, right? That's not going to happen. Not just for the subversions, like 0.1, 0.002, all of this, but even the big releases. So when there will be Supermemo 20, it will be released silently on the store. There will be no announcement whatsoever. So let's see some of the strategies you can do. Okay, something you can do is go to Supermemopedia. Now it looks like this, time to time changes. So you may see it slightly different if you see this video in the future. But if you scroll down, you will see the latest release. So in this case, hey, I know it's 19.1 and the date is precisely the version I'm running. But it's not a guarantee because they don't update this religiously. If we go to the history, do you see the previous version was 1908 and then the 0.1 will be 0.10. So the 09 was entirely skipped. So it's not a guarantee, but most of the time, just taking a peek at here about Supermemo will be enough. Another one, Wikipedia. And oh my god, I actually didn't check that. I actually didn't check that before recording the video. And look at this. It's outdated. It's 08. So take preference over their proprietary wiki, the Supermemopedia, or the Wikipedia. Here you have a real case that is outdated. Then, another strategy you can use is just subscribe to my channel, because especially if it's something useful, I will share it. So it has been an introduction of a new feature, like image occlusion. Boom. Here you have the video on image occlusion from the 19.1 in the most recent case. If it's very, very niche or just a few fixes that most people won't even notice, I won't do the video. But again, it's something, at the same time, it's an update that you more likely you're not going to benefit either, so you're not missing anything. And one last way to do it is, again, the most niche and let's say elitist way to do it is by emails with Piotr Woźniak. Perhaps you don't know, but anything in Supermemo, you can email it. There will be a section about incremental email for the mastery track of the course, very late in the course, very close to the end. So I'm not going to explain that, but let me show you some examples. Okay, so here's an example that I got an email from Piotr Woźniak. And this is when you share a video within Supermemo. You get this and the metadata, the subject, the data of import, source. This is exactly the same as this. This is what is being sent, but also includes the software. So in this case, I knew, or I could have noticed the existence of Supermemo 09 because of this email. I just didn't pay attention. At 8, this version was skipped in Supermemopedia and in Wikipedia, and still today in Wikipedia it's outdated. The only limitation is that this date perhaps is not the same, as you will see, because he does multiple builds, private builds. They are not public. So not because I see this, it's going to be public already, I can update it. Necessarily. But at least I can know, hey, Piotr Wozniak is cooking the next version already, the 09 in this case. So remember, by this order, Supermemopedia, Wikipedia, Piotr Wozniak emails, my own channel, or at the last resort, you can just manually trigger the executable file. And let's say the blind way to do it is you just trigger this without checking anything, and let's see if there's a new version. So let's do it now. Yeah, and you need to close down Supermemo. Do you see? It says, hey, you have the latest version of Supermemo 19. So in this case, there's a new version. If you want, you can do this time to time, once a month, or whenever you feel. So that has been everything you need to know about when there's a new Supermemo version. Supermemo will confuse you before it helps you. What? What do you mean by that? Yeah, of course Supermemo is super helpful, but not at day 1. Perhaps not at day 2 or 3 or 4. At the beginning it will be very confusing. But here are my 2 cents why this is actually a good thing. Why Supermemo can feel confusing at first. There's a unique approach. It is very, very different from the traditional study methods. So if you come from a school, what's called the Prussian school system, that basically is the school we know in modern era, you have a lot of skills that are quite required, and we don't know how to use them, or you have some habits that go against you. Second factor is that it's non-linear. This takes a while for the brain to get used to it. Then it becomes second nature, effortlessly. But it needs time. It's like, what? At the beginning. Then Supermemo, the software, not because if it's incremental reading, but because how it's implemented is complex. And you have an initial complexity. There are many features, and it's unclear what is the purpose. So there's a good analogy, and it's with Wikipedia. Let's say that, hey, I'm getting infections, that's actually real, my case. After COVID, I get infections often that never happened in my life. Then, hey, let me take some supplements. Vitamin C, let's hope that with vitamin C, ascorbic acid, I get better, right? Then, okay, let me go to Wikipedia. Let's do that, actually. I just Google vitamin C. Look, the first thing are already supplements. Wikipedia. Then, vitamin C, also known as ascorbic acid. In my case, I knew that. Oh, there's yet another name, okay. It's a water-soluble vitamin from citrus. Then is, what? Scurvy? Collagen, and what is enzymatic? What is antioxidant? What is a neurotransmitter? Then is, wow. There's way too much jargon, right? In this case, I only care about the definition. So will be, I don't know, only this, right? The very basic, I don't need the entire article. This happened to me when I was learning English with a paper dictionary, that the definition included other words that I didn't know either, and I had to check those words. And again, it used a word that I didn't know, and I needed to do it once again. So this is what will happen in Supermemo, that I get a definition that, okay, let's say the outstanding queue, what is this? Outstanding, oh yeah, but what is an element? Oh, no. What is this, what is that? Then you don't stop checking, because everything is interlinked, it's referencing each other. So until you don't get familiar with the basics, that when you revisit that definition, now I know the requisite knowledge, now I understand it, right? But at the beginning, everything is new, doesn't make sense at all. So this is what happens in Supermemo. All of these, the mercy. So imagine, just to make my point very quickly, I was confused when I went there. Is learn, review, revolve, dilute, spread, remember, forget, dismiss, and dismiss, postpone, advance. What is dilute? What is a spread? Or what is this? Subtract subset file, intersect subset file, intersperse subset. what is all of this jargon? I'm actually lost. This is how I also felt. So tip, expect to feel lost initially. You cannot avoid that. This confusion means you're learning a new way to learn. That, hey, this non-linear thing doesn't make sense. You won't get it. But it's because it's new. It's not a different technique. It's actually a new technique. But it's not just that. It's because it's a different paradigm. That is a massive toll for the brain to get it. You need to require a lot. Then, the initial struggle is very common. You feel more overwhelmed by the jargon, the options, the features they mention stuff that you don't even comprehend. Okay, I get that it's non-linear, but other than that, I don't get the flow, stuff like this. Then you have difficulty managing the repetitions, the priorities. I get what they mean, but how do I decide the priority, and so on. You're not sure what deserves more attention. There's a lot of stuff. Where do I start? So in this course, I have set some order. It's not arbitrary. There's a lot of thought put on that order, but it's not unique. I could have changed a little the order. That will still make sense. So, more or less to quote one of the thoughts. Supermemo first reveal gaps in your habits before it improves your learning. It is like a wake-up call that, oh, I realized I had this habit, and this habit, perhaps for decades, or could I say my entire life, and now realized that that was actually a bad habit. I thought it was a good thing to do, and it's actually not. That's why, hey, I don't get this, or it doesn't work. I don't get the big picture. It's because this. It shows you to your face, hey, there's something lacking here. But again, Supermemo doesn't teach you the content. Supermemo doesn't teach you anything. It just shows to you what you decided to remember, or what you want to read again, or continue reading. It doesn't teach you anything. In this case, metaphorically, it teaches you the bad habits, because you will realize, hey, this is not working, this doesn't make sense, to your face. So why this confusion is valuable? It identifies the weak points with your previous study methods or learning methods. For me, this was gold. I would have paid what I paid for the degrees I had, the bachelor's and master degrees I had, for just this. To realize, to become aware, oh wow, I have lost a lot of time in my life with inefficient methods. Then, how to get them? It's self-directed. You can get help with tutoring, which I provide. It's still a challenge. It's not, oh, it's tutoring, it's passive, and that's it. No. You still have a challenge, but it's a lot easier than if you are on your own. So it forces this reconsideration of your learning strategy. It creates a cognitive dissonance. If it doesn't create a cognitive dissonance, it's because you didn't realize yet. You have moved on from Supermemo too soon, or you just install it, you're just following the course, and it's way too soon. But you will get there. So, leads to Supermemo, this confusion that Supermemo creates leads to powerful insights into memory and retention. You will realize how little you knew about learning science. You have learned a lot of stuff, but you didn't learn how to learn. So there's a tip. This confusion you feel at the start will guide your most important judgments later. So this confusion is something actually required, needed, positive thing, temporary. Should I say, I hope, temporary, but not 2 days, and that's it. It will be still on the long term, but it's temporary. Then, breaking through the confusion. Start small. Start with a tiny collection. Don't overdo it. More is not better. Usually, the opposite is true in Supermemo. If you want, no, I'm a special or I'm super intelligent, that won't be my case. No, because you need the interruption. If you do more, then you have fewer interruptions in between. So let's say, you have more opportunities to do mistakes or to repeat the same mistake more times before you realize. So, more or less, what you have done is wasting more time. Then gradual add complexity. That is the premise of the Pleasurable Guide to Supermemo. There's a lot of stuff. Since I know almost everything in Supermemo, I present this whenever I think it's convenient, not at the beginning. That is kind of a mistake I did with the Fall React course. That, hey, let's introduce the A factor, and everything I knew about the A factor for topics, for items not needed, you can modify it here, there, there's a use case for this. No. It's, hey, I'm letting you know this exists. Just because we need it for something else, we introduce this window, this dialog, or this concept, it will wait. Or then, hey, we only need to know how to set it up, how to turn it on or off, but the metrics and the use cases, these will come. Incremental. Same thing. Trust the log process. In case you follow this course, you have to trust me. I mean, you have to trust my word, but also my facts. Because if you check my channel, you will see that I have already spent thousands of hours doing more than 1,000 of videos. So I wouldn't do this course with more than 2,000 videos if I didn't believe that, right? If it was not convinced. So take this as some token of proof, because I will not want to waste 1,000 hours of my time, right? Then, the best Supermemo users embrace early confusion to achieve clarity later. This, at some degree, is personality trait. Some people, because of their personality, they will embrace it sooner or easier. Some people will have a lot of friction, or they are like, I want results now, tomorrow at the latest. Not going to happen. You need to embrace this confusion, and eventually it makes sense. A good analogy is a language you have learned after 12 years old, after the critical period, and a few years later, that, hey, you are no longer native of that language. It doesn't make much sense. It's super expensive, super costly, but eventually you do the click and, hey, now I'm able to produce that language enough that I don't have to think in a different language and translate, right? It becomes natural. It is automatized enough. Same thing with Supermemo. It's very cloudy. It's a constant fight every day, but eventually, now makes sense. If I want to do my session, I know what to do, how it translates in the software. Eventually, you will do that. You'll need hundreds of videos of this course. First, your own experience, because it's not a substitution. You still need to do your own experience, and then you will do the click. You will no longer be confused, or the confusions will be tiny and isolated. So then, when Supermemo starts to click, when you recognize patterns in your learning, you're experiencing more intuitive management of knowledge, that you kind of see your own style, your own preference. I don't mean learning a style, by the way, the style of incremental reading. That, hey, I prefer it this way, not this other way. Matter of taste. It's not because it's better or more powerful. It's because I prefer it like this, right? Then, not seeing increased retention without extra effort. That will be more in the soft skills of formulation of knowledge. So tip, patience is essential. The real value becomes obvious only after sustained use. So imagine it's not as a good analogy. Imagine you have a bad weather. It's very cloudy, or you have fog, and you're driving with that fog constantly. But eventually you will get home. Then imagine that this fog stays for 4 months. And every day you need to commute through the fog. It's, oh my God, what a pain. And every day it's not that, oh, it's going away, it's fading away. No. It's been three days and it's still as intense as day one. So more or less, it will be the same, that you need a lot of patience to tolerate this fog for so long, even if you know that in 4 months it will be gone for sure, guaranteed. You still want to give up sooner. That I don't want to wait 4 months for this fog to go away. It's too much of an ask. So more or less it goes in that direction. Then, confusion is a sign of progress. If you feel confusion, you're actively engaging with new ideas. You're doing something on your brain, creating new connections. So it's actually something good. Or you want to get rid of, unlearn bad habits, which for me, it's more taxing than acquiring new habits, especially when it comes to learning. And also depends on your age. I was 30 when I started Supermemo. I was 22 when I started Space Repetition. So then, it's been 16 years already. Confusion usually precedes breakthrough. First you get confused, then you have this breakthrough, the quote-unquote revelation, that I see the light. Like Matrix, if you have seen Matrix, is when Neo, at the end of the first movie, sees Matrix, sees the patterns, the strings, the zeros and whatever, the machine thing, not the human interpretation of the Matrix. If you have watched the movie, it will make sense. So that's a piece of encouragement. Stick with it. It doesn't make sense. Wait. It will make sense. Not tomorrow either, not next week, and perhaps not even next month. But after a few months, it will make sense. This initial confusion is temporary, albeit quite long, but the benefits last a lifetime. So it's just not because you don't want to quote-unquote suffer, it's not the right word, but to make my point, a few months, you sacrifice a lifetime. It's too expensive. The price to pay is super expensive. It's a few months to tolerate this fog, right? Oh my God, what a pain. But the absence of incremental reading in your life, in the information era, is too much of a sacrifice. So then, what's the gateway? Early confusion is normal and beneficial. Do not get rid of the confusion. If you have the goal to remove the confusion, it's a wrong goal already. You cannot do incremental reading. You will be able to do Quizlet if you want, but not incremental reading. Supermemo is designed to challenge your old learning habits. To make my point, it's not the purpose that, hey, let's challenge people. No, it's because it's a different paradigm, just because it will challenge your learning habits, and since it's specialized for this self-directed learning paradigm, and is optimized for this, and is designed for this flow, for this paradigm, then we could say it's designed to challenge this. Unless you're one of the very few people who never set foot in the school system, so mainly it's only legal in 3 countries in the world, to my knowledge, it won't be the case for you. Then success is measured by long-term clarity, not immediate ease. So final thought. Allow yourself to be confused. Mastery comes after confusion, never before. Embrace the fog. After the fog, imagine a lifetime of sunshine, guaranteed for life. But first you need to go through the fog. You want to avoid the fog, but then you will have rainy days, awful days, every other day for the rest of your life. To follow the metaphor of the weather, even though the weather is quite arbitrary, but I think it's enough to get my point across. That has been all about Supermemo will confuse you before it helps you. But when it helps you, oh my God, you don't want to go back to traditional methods, even to just a space repetition without incremental reading. Remember, there will be a specialized section, well, more than one, about incremental reading theory, because there's way too much stuff to explain. But we will see this later in the course, not now. You have plenty of confusion to go through in between. So during this section, we're going to present Supermemo user interface. The main windows, dialogues, that will be convenient to know at the very beginning. But before we do that, in case you didn't know, if you ever have seen some screenshot of Supermemo, is that Supermemo doesn't follow any standard UI rules. So here's what to expect. User interface, you can already see some windows here and there. So Supermemo interface defies the convention. That's why it's counterintuitive. Then Supermemo is a powerful learning tool, not the typical Windows app. There is a lot of complexity, so this also adds some layers. Let's say that justifies that it's not as easy to use. Then it's built, but let's say, as scientists of learning. They are not into UI design, they are specialized in this, and these things at all. Then, therefore, expect a non-standard user interface, and it has some quirks, some of them on purpose. That, no, we want it to be like this. It's actually done on purpose. The toolbars are customized. Everything feels like in the 90s, the feeling of the interface, and users may be lost at first. Because Supermemo is designed for its function, for functionality, not for fashion, to look bad, to look nice, to be eye candy. No, it's meant to be efficient. Knowing that, then the navigation is quite, let's say, unique. You have a lot of right-click menus, which are different from depending on where you click. Many functions are hidden on toolbars or shortcut keys that you either know the combination of the shortcut or you need to navigate through menu, and more menus, right? Then expect non-intuitive pathways to familiar features. Let's say you want to highlight some text, something that may be quite familiar feature. How do you do that in Supermemo? It's not that easy, that straightforward. And sometimes, or most of the time, the standard undo, Ctrl-Z, doesn't exist. Do not exist, which makes the UX, the user experience, slightly more inconvenient. Then, it's very likely that you will heavily rely on keyboard shortcuts, even though now it's kind of possible to do a lot of stuff through the menus. It's not designed for that. So learning this is crucial for speed, meaning if you want the overflow, eventually you will rely on key bindings. During this course, we will see the key bindings very incremental. I'm not going to rely on key bindings, so it's more user-friendly anyways. But you will notice that the user interface, it's designed, it's meant for the user to rely on the key bindings. There's a little emphasis on the mouse. So we could say that Supermemo is a tool you grow into, not a slide through. It needs iterations. Then some expected behavior, that some tabs they move between fields normally, some fields they don't respond, so you can actually press but doesn't do anything, or open a dialog with the same content that is redundant. Sometimes resizing windows or components might break the layout. This is especially true if you don't understand how layouts work in Supermemo. That's why we will have a dedicated section for that. Then, I have a small here, kind of a table. Doesn't look like a table, but it's to go slightly meta with a user interface. In Supermemo, you have menus, menu bars, and panels. In case you're not familiar, because perhaps this is kind of, or at least it's the 90s standard, let's say, of user interface. So a menu bar is like this. Those options are always there at all times. Then a menu, I need to click. And now you see it's visible. It's only visible, it's hidden until invoked. That's the menu. Menu bar, it's always visible. Here you go. Here. And a panel is visible or toggleable, like this here below. Oopsie doopsie. Do you see I did something by mistake and there's no undo? Okay. So more or less I want to do the 2 cents about that, just in case. Then, why it stays this way? If you ever use older Supermemo versions from 10 years ago, you will realize it looks quite similar. So this structure, this let's say that the architecture, it's very old, hasn't changed much. Why it stays like this? Long story short, the learning curve reset for long-term users. That, hey, I have been using Supermemo for a decade or decades. Now if you change you overhaul the user interface, I will need to relearn all of that in favor of the newbies. That, hey, for me the software is new, so for me I don't care if the UI is 20 years old or 2 months old, right? I'm going to learn it anyways from scratch. So this is a mindset. Most of the features, again, are not removed, even if they are not used anymore, just because in your collection you could have something from 20 years ago and it's left, so it's compatible, more or less. Then, know where. Usually, also that is part of their philosophy. They don't do announcements. So if there's ever a quick change in the user interface, you realize by yourself that, oh, this changed, something like that. It's not going to be announced either. Not just the user interface, but feature, even major release is not even announced. Then, the development team is very small. If not one person, now I don't know how many people there are involved. Across the years, there were many people, now I don't know. That's why user interface is never a focus. Because there are many bugs to fix, about 5,000, and what is just cosmetic will be low priority. So here are some tips that I suggest along the course, and after you're done with the course, use the keyboard shortcuts early. It doesn't mean from the very beginning you have an obsession. No, it's just when you use a feature, hey, now I notice I'm using this feature quite often. Hey, let me bother and remember the key binding instead. If it's something you're not going to use, then don't fear documentation, it's dense but gold. But again, with my course, you actually can neglect the documentation, there's no need for that, as long as you do the mastery track. And some alt key menus with the alt key are hidden gems. That sometimes, do you see, now I have letters underlined, so I can go to window with W. It's so convenient. And in any dialogue, when I mean any, we will see other dialogues. Then I do Alt, and I do have the same power. Do you see it's underlined? If I go now to G, Alt G at the same time, here you go. I go to that menu. So it's super powerful. Final thought. Supermemo interface and user experience may frustrate you at the beginning, and not that at the beginning, even after a few months, but it will empower you. Then you will reach a point that, okay, it's not the best software, it's not the best user experience, but the method is so powerful that you will just adjust with time. You will get used to it with all of the unbacks you need to then navigate. So it's not designed to impress, it's designed to remember. Then if you stay, you don't give up, you don't move on from Supermemo, it's because it works. It could be better than software implementation, absolutely. But the method is top-notch. That has been everything you need to know about the Supermemo interface not following the standards. And from now on, in the coming videos, we will see little by little the different windows, and you'll realize some patterns that, oh my god, what is this? So we're using Supermemo for the first time. So now we level up our interface and we go to level middle, to middle level. So now you notice already that we have Edit, Search, Length, View, Toolkit on a window, options in the toolbar. That was not present. Something more, and here we have the panels. The Edit panel, Red, Compose, Tools, and Alarm. It's quite decent. And hey, even in the file menu that we had before, I have more options, like Delete Collection, Repair, Merge, Tools, Properties. In the Help, now we have even more options than before, for instance this one, and all of that. Even though those options are still limited. There are more options here that are hidden. But before proceeding, let's read the official documentation. So the middle level introduces collection management functions, as I mentioned, delete collection, repair, and merge, and editing components. Let's see, components, here you go. All of that, and mode. The components, all of that. Let me actually double check. Level, basic. Yeah, I have the mode right away. Mode is in the sub-menu of components. It's not there. It's if you are a beginner, a basic level, don't worry about components, not yet. So that is in fact true. Let's actually check that out. I have components. Once again, I'm not sure what they mean. Let me check the key binding. Yes, component order editor. So basically, there's one menu here for convenience, and it's redundant. That is for components. Let me actually check that. Yeah, it's the compose. Means the compose I can add all of the components. That is true. I was referring to this option. Edit components. This is redundant. It's here in the compose panel, and here you have all of the options possible up to here. Okay, so we have collection management functions and editing components, and then advanced search functions and browsing functions, options and mercy, and layout management. Layout management is this: how you see the windows, in which position they are, which windows they are active, all of that. What else was? Mercy is something you will do very scarcely. There's no need for that. What else? And options. We haven't had options yet. Oh my god, that's a big deal. Let me double check that. Now, do you see that it's different? That's because I don't have a layout saved, by the way. So if I go again to the basic, yeah, I don't have the options. Oh my god, that is true. And what else is that? So if I have the basic, this is what I see. I cannot open, for instance, the browser window. So in fact, I cannot use rescheduling, mercy, all of that. If I try the same with the middle, do you see now I have the toolbars in the contents window? I have the toolbar with the options. Now I can do it. And I can do remember, forget, dilute, all of those options here. So is it worth? Yeah, it's pretty good. So this middle level, for me, it's the first one that is usable. Because not having access to the element window is very problematic. You cannot do subsets, all of that. Merging and editing collection, this is very niche. It's not important at all. And Mercy, again, super niche, not relevant. If you use the middle, it's not for those options. For the layout, to set the layouts, and once they are set, the layouts, you don't need them unless you need to change your flow, you change the resolution of your monitor. You're not going to change that anymore. So it's basically for the options. You want to customize settings that are really inconvenient. Just as a small preview. You want to skip the final drill, you don't want that. Or you get alerted a lot because of this setting. You cannot change that. Or the fonts, it looks terrible. You cannot change the fonts unless you use the middle. So my suggestion is, if you want to go straight to the professional, use the middle. Even though you're almost there. So only a few options are hidden. So this level is don't sacrifice anything and just go straight to professional. With all the knowledge I have, I don't see any justification other than 1 or 2 days. After that, use the professional. Easy as that. Here what I want to share is some of the limitations of the access levels. So we have seen the element window and all of its parts using the professional level. So now if I change the level to beginner, what do I have? I have at least 2 options of the main menu. I have the navigation bar differently, because here I have some options that in other levels are below here. In the what is missing here? The control bar. Since it's absolutely gone, you have a few options still here. So the control bar, it's gone. But we still have the 2 buttons in the bottom panel. Awesome. Now, if we change the level to basic, now we have the control bar, a half-baked control bar. So I have the toolbar. In this case, the Learn toolbar is the first one, but I don't have the tabs, so I cannot select any of those. So usually this is the default, but what will happen if now I change to middle? Now middle adds the entire option in the main menu. The navigation bar, now it's even simpler than before, because some icons that were here have moved below. But now I have the tabs of the toolbars within the control bar, right? So now I click on alarm, let's say. So imagine that I go back, that, oh, it's too hard for me. It's too daunting. Let me go back to beginner. Okay, I see nothing, right? Awesome. Now let me go to basic. I feel comfortable with basic now. Hey, now I cannot see the values I had on the Learn bar, on the Learn toolbar, just because the last used was the alarm toolbar, and I cannot change it. So this is a good example that the access level is not well implemented. There's not been like thought put in the user experience. It was just a shortcut to hide stuff from the UI, and that's about it. Because then, yeah, what's the purpose of showing me this if I cannot change it? I need to actually go to different level, change the setting, and go back. It defeats the entire purpose, right? And on top of that, now if I go to the professional, do you see the buttons on the navigation bar? That's not the professional. So I need to actually quit, exit Supermemo, open it again, and now it refreshes. I see the entire thing. So once again, one of the limitations that kind of defeat the purpose of the navigating through the access levels. It's a good premise because you have this incrementalism. You start easy and you introduce stuff on the user interface so you can actually use them. But how it is implemented kind of defeats the purpose. At least I wanted to share a few things. There are more, but are diminishing returns that they're not that useful. That's why I did an effort to include them on this course, in this section of the course. But once we moved on to the next section of the course, we will always use the professional level, always. And all of my videos in YouTube that predate the course, they have always had the professional anyways. So good to know the features. Also use an excuse for instance, in the element window, is an excuse that we can introduce stuff incrementally, that this is not hidden, like some kind of recap of what we have introduced. But other than that, there's the point. So remember, this is the element area, and in this area is where you can right click and trigger the what? The element menu. But again, Supermemo is more complex and goes beyond that. It's not as easy. Then, remember this was called the navigation bar. If I right click, I also get the menu. So where do you get the menu? From the element display area and the navigation bar, with some exceptions, because it has to be complex because it's Supermemo. If I right click here, you remember how this is named? The information panel of the navigation bar. It works. But here, oopsie doopsie, I get a different menu. So sometimes, oops, that's not what I thought, yet another menu. Finally, oops, a different menu. Oops, a different menu. Oops. You see how many exceptions there are to the rule? Here you go, right? So most of the buttons, they don't have any special menu, therefore you get the element menu. But sometimes you click and oopsie doopsie, you get something else. So what I suggest, the rule of thumb, is just always click on the information panel. First, it's clear. You cannot misclick, oh, I wanted to right click on this button, but I did it on the next and I got a different menu. In this case, it's safe. Also, it's very wide, so it's even if you let's say use a touchpad with a laptop, then you don't have as much precision. Let's say it's still a safe area to right click. And remember that you can also go Edit, Menus, and the element menu, or Alt F10. Then we will cover these menus here or somewhere else when it's convenient, when it's add-in, when it's pertinent. Not now. So that's all you need to know about this little detail, how the element menu triggers, especially in the case of the navigation bar. That is the statistics window. You cannot customize the order either. It's fixed. That's the order of the stats. You can make it smaller, something I suggest. And here I hint something else that we'll see. Do you remember a pattern so far in Supermemo you may have noticed? With the you remember the panels and so on? Usually it's by redundancy, right? Because you have here where you're allowed, or for instance, the calendar, you also have the calendar here, and so on. Everything is redundant, but some exceptions apply. And the stats window is not an exception. And I don't mean a button here. I mean precisely this, the review. What we'll see that you can do in Supermemo different modes, let's say, other than the default, a subset, neural review, final drill, all of this. The only way that this is mentioned, how do you identify this state, or what you're doing, it's here. If you don't have this window, because the stats window is optional, how do you know in which situation you are in? Most of the cases people get lost because they're in a subset review without realizing they're in a subset review. How do you identify in a subset review? We will see this later, but it's only with this window. That's why I suggest, even if you don't care about the statistics, to have it minimized, so at least you see the review. You may have noticed that with my rearrangement, my layout that you will see most of the videos, I keep it like this. So I can take a pic here when I use Supermemo. So we have seen the stats window already. And even though we are not going to go into much detail for now, and for the fluency, the other thing we will cover is very high level why you shouldn't care about some stats that are not actually relevant, or they're relevant later on once you have built a meaningful collection. At the beginning, it doesn't tell you much. But before this, I want to differentiate different kinds of stats qualitatively. This is not official, it's just me who more or less puts those categories, those labels. So for instance, you have what they call static, and a static stat, because it cannot be changed ever. It will always be the same one. For instance, the first day. This collection started in August 12, 2020. I cannot change that. I can have another collection with a different first day, absolutely. But this collection will always have this number, this date, not going to be changed. Then you have other metrics that are for today, or in the context you're using now. For instance, review, we have seen, review depends on what you're doing now. If you're in a subset review, no review, outstanding, whatever. Then, and the alarm as well, if you use it. Then we have the R metric. It's a good example because it only represents today. Even if it accumulates or is an average, it's only in the scope of today. Unlike other metrics, that is forever. History, what you have done with this collection. For instance, the repetitions, rep count, 134,000. This is what I have done overall. Meaning that now, if I delete content, even my entire collection but one element, this repetition count stays the same, because it can only accumulate. There are other stats, like memorized items, let's say, or memorized per day, which is cumulative, but only represents the actual state of the collection. Meaning, let's say that I created 9 a day, by average, which is 21,616 topics. If now I delete those let's say 1,000 topics, this will be updated. So it's not the cumulative topics that I have memorized, but the actual state of the collection as of right now. It's so precise, and to make my point, what I will do is that I will delete, let's say, this folder. It's about 3,000, right? Okay. Yeah, let me delete this. It's a backup, no worries. You will notice that it's updating live. Every single deletion, every element is updating. So the memorized items, memorized per day, consequently, the items, topics, the outstanding as consequence because I'm deleting. Do you see burden, workload, speed, repetitions, not repetition count, repetitions, all of this is updating live. This is already telling you, is a big hint, all of the possible stats that are only about the current state of the collection. So you have done a lot of items or topics, but I delete them, then I'm not going to see the history overall what I have done, only the current state. But let me cancel because there are too many. I already made my point. Awesome. So now the values are slightly different. Then you have stats. This is very special, the average time. This is the repetition time for items. It's very interesting because you have the average, which in my case is surprisingly close to the default value of 5 seconds, but you cannot know any. The repetition is not logged. I cannot go to any place and see how much time I spend in that repetition, like in Anki. But for whatever reason, only does the average. So I have the average of everything I have done, but I don't have any particular individual stat. Then you have some other stats that differentiate items and topics. I for items, T for topics. Yes, I is for items, even though in the knowledge tree it is an L. It's Supermemo. Don't ask me why they have chosen an L. So we won't cover how you interpret this, or what do you mean items per year per minute? What is this ratio? What is in parentheses means? We'll cover this on the mastery track of the course. But I wanted to make this point at the very least that you will know that, hey, there's a mix of different stats, different nature of stats in the stats window. So I think we have achieved the goal of this video. Now that we have seen the status bar, there's actually a feature that you can toggle off and on the status bar. So if you go to Windows and click on the status bar, do you see now it's checked? I click, now it's gone. I now see the background of Supermemo, which is great. That, hey, now I want to see some information, I require the status bar. I do the same thing. Windows, in the main menu, Windows menu, and status bar. And here you go. Now the question is, what are the use cases? When should I want to hide the status bar? So it only, I don't know how many pixels, but not many. Feel free to do it. In case it triggers you because you see the numbers, as we will see, the outstanding, cute, and it's creating anxiety, feel free to go Window, status bar, and hide it. Then, for convenience, in all of my videos, I will have it on, because I want to have all of the context possible during the course. And if you ask me, during 5 years of Supermemo, I have always used the status bar, even though most of the time I actually don't take a look. You remember this feature of the user survey that opens the website of Supermemopedia about those questions. What do you like? Da, 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 da. Most of those are open questions. Before, if I go to Supermemo 16, what you had is instead, it's a questionnaire, which by the way has a key binding. I don't know why it has a key binding. You're not going to access this often. And more or less is the same experience. So you have the questions, most of them are open, but you have some that are multiple choice. And it's like a survey, but are not the same questions. And that you could send that to them directly. Which country, which occupation, educational background, age. Then about your use about Supermemo. How do you first learn about Supermemo? In my case would be in the Anki documentation. Thus, they said they were using SM2, an algorithm based on Supermemo. And they linked Supermemo website, and I checked that website. So even before starting Anki in 2008, I knew the existence of Supermemo. Which versions have you used? Oh shit. On the list, 15. And onwards. I know that now they don't put the name anymore. I mean the year. It's just a number. How long have you been using Supermemo in years? How much time per day do you spend with Supermemo? How many items do you have memorized? Okay, something that is quantitative. Also, this is a pain. If you use multiple collections, there's no way you can aggregate this data. Well, at least memorize you could. You just add the numbers. But how much do you spend? Unless you track this yourself, there's no way to know that in Supermemo. What is your opinion about Supermemo method? Waste of time, artificial approach to learning, nothing special, useful idea, and accelerating learning. Interesting options. So I will not select any of those options, but based on the options allowed, that will be the one. What's your opinion about the Supermemo software? Not the method, the software. Good software that is not user-friendly, that will be more or less the default, but it has a lot of bugs. Yeah, so we'll select this one. What do you like the most in Supermemo? I have asked this in the survey. What do you dislike the most? What are the most important improvements you will welcome? What services are insufficiently or unclearly covered in help, F1? In case you don't know, with F1, doesn't work here. Let me use Supermemo 19. You go to the context you are. I have a video on that, context. It's how it actually called, is the actual name of this feature, context. That you don't know which window you are at. Oh, what is this? Ancestors. I select ancestors, F1, doesn't do anything, doesn't have that. This other window, this one has one, element data. A lot can be improved. But this a lot of quantity are always details that most of the other users will never have any difference, because they are not going to use those features at all to begin with. Use incremental reading, how does it affect your learning? Yes, it's also in the other survey. Nice touch. I don't know why this was removed. So that is the Supermemo questionnaire within the app that no longer exists. But hey, good to know. And yeah, I just checked in Supermemo 15, even older. The freeware version is newer, but the release is older. They also have the questionnaire. Good to know. So now we will see the very last option in the help menu. We have seen all of that already, but now we're going to change to the professional level. And we have, among other things, one final option, and it's email. You have both support and back report. So here support says, send email with questions to Supermemo technical support. Well, doesn't say in email. It goes yet again to the official documentation. Supermemo is complex, how to get answers. So first is check whatever so you are sure that your question hasn't been asked before. And even that is generally new, it's a valid question, then do it. Keep in mind, it's always documentation. FAQ files, we have seen that. Full text search, we have seen that. So it's like a sequence. You go with this, then the FAQ, then the search with context or just straight the webs we have seen. And even if you don't find your answer, then your last resort should be email. And it's always email. Here it says via phone, but this is about the Extreme English DVD when they were using physical format. I think that was true many, many years ago. And I don't think that's either the case. And it should be, I think, Supermemo World, the language app, not Supermemo for Windows. So forget about phone. It's just email. Email or Supermemopedia. That's it. And then what is the email? Is the other option, as you can see here. Is what we're going to do. Help, email, back report. And this should open your default app. In my case, in this computer, I don't have anything set up. So this is Thunderbird. Okay. So those email addresses change every year. So you have back 2024, Supermemo Super 2024, and it keeps increasing every year. And it pre-appends the details. This we will see much later in the course. This is from your stats window. It gets pre-appended there, which you can delete by the way if you don't want to share that. But at least what I will leave is the precise version you're using, the precise build. So the details basically. And if you don't want the collection statistics, you could get rid of that if you care about your privacy. Then you also have the workload data and the element data from what you were. This is precisely the one you want to get rid of, especially if you're writing your own stuff or is for work, something like that, element content. And then the system data, feel free to leave it. Could be useful for them. And then you say, I have this back, but this is old-fashioned. What I really suggest, if you wanna reply, is to use Supermemopedia. How you can get that? Easy. Help, web, Supermemopedia. Do whatever, even if it's dummy. Let's say it's the factors. Okay, I have a factor, but now I just got my way to here. I will create an account if I already did log in, and I will ask a question. Here you have the example. Why you get this error? Bam. And you will get an answer, sometimes soon enough, sometimes a decade later. You never know. So this concludes this menu. So it's possible that never again we will see this menu in the course. With the only exception when I do incremental writing, let's say, and I want to reference the user survey, or it will be anecdotal, not required. So that is the first menu that we have completed. And I think the other menus, it will be hard to know when we complete them because it's not a way we do this. It's not a goal. So instead, we'll learn the flows, learning flow in Supermemo, subsets, all of the features you can use. And as a consequence, we'll learn all of those options. Some of those, like import, will be optional much later in the course. What I mean much later is after I think that you consider that is you should know. Then is what is optional, like incremental email. It will be later after all of this course. That means that it will be more than 1,000 videos before that, when we get to this point. And from now on, we will use the professional. We will stay in the professional level. So now we have Supermemo with the middle level. There's a lot of features now that are available, but we will see those in context. So the only thing that I want to share now is this one that is being added, the web. In the help submenu, we have seen all of that already, but hey, for whatever reason, web was not available. And can you guess what it does? Most of this just goes to Supermemo documentation. So online help goes to the main page. As easy as that. We have seen this website quite a lot already. Next, YouTube. I thought it will go to the YouTube channel. Not exactly. It goes to Supermemopedia, Supermemo on YouTube. And you have the official video, the official channel from Piotr Wozniak, that in this case has 44 videos. He has been active recently, 2 weeks ago and 1 month, because he had, you can see, he was inactive for 2 years, from 1 year to 3 years, and 4 years. So imagine, in 4 years he only did like a few videos, and then recently he did 4 more. And then you have Pleasurable Learning, the channel you're watching now. At the time of the recording, here it says 800 videos, but once I finish the course, this will have more than 2,000. Yes, you heard that right, more than 2,000. Supermemo Wiki, which is was the channel run by the community. They started just a few months earlier than me, so more or less at the same time. Was more than one person, so it was a collective effort. But it has been more than 3 years that it has been stopped. And it includes one video, a series of videos of the course, which I started reacting to, but I stopped because now I'm doing the full-fledged course from scratch. Then yeah, it's a good introduction, but there's a lot of room of improvement. And then some other channels like Supermemo Theater, Supermemo World. This was official channel, but from an employee. I think there's one video from Wozniak, but most of the time is Michael. And it just really, it's old, you can see, 16 years ago. I actually reacted to all of those videos. I have a video to mention which videos pass the test of time. So even if they are 16 years old, they stay true if you use Supermemo 19. So, some they don't. And Supermemo World, that is from the company that do the language learning, unrelated to the incremental reading app from Wozniak. And then you have Winston and Flasher Guy. Flasher Guy has like 6 videos to explain what is incremental reading. It's a pity he hasn't created anything else. It's been, again, 6. It's been 3 years. I have shared his videos quite a lot. It's gold. And that's why I won't be replicating his analogy. I won't do a better job than him. And Winston, that usually is a user sharing his own flows. Outlier case, because he uses auto-hotkey scripts components in Supermemo. We'll see what that means. And he also applies with reading, playing music, philosophy, meditation, something that is very hard to find. And the only and language learning. The only side effect, the only con, let's say, is that it's unedited. Other than that, it's a good resource. And then you have other channels. I don't know why it's here now. James, that in the past he was a Supermemo user. So he has a few old videos, again, 3 years ago, using Supermemo. And I reacted to most of those videos as well, if you want to see my input on those. And he also has some videos, what is a spaced repetition, what is incremental reading, or why learning should be pleasurable. Here you go. More the theoretical aspect. Those are the videos about Supermemo, and that's pretty much it. He moved on from Supermemo. I guess that's why it's here in other channels instead of... Oh, it's dedicated. Okay, that's the difference. So that means that eventually my channel will be in other channels because I will move on from Supermemo because I will have covered everything, basically. So this is more or less the preview of web and YouTube and online help. So we're using Supermemo level of middle, and we have seen, among other things, all of the options and those two. So now we have the options after the divider. Search Wiki, HTML help, Supermemopedia, and web. So let's start with this. This is easy. Supermemopedia. Oh, I need to type this in. Let's say what is a level? And just goes to Google and adds this, site colon Supermemopedia. That's it. And that doesn't ask my question, by the way, because the question I have is about this level. Do you remember what I can use? What happens if I press F1 here? Nothing. But if I deselect the submenu, so I just have this, and I press F1, I go to the File menu, Level, and here you go. Now I have the definition of level. It's not even obvious how to get there. Then the next one is help. Level. Let me do the same. Here you go. In this case, in this website, it is. Well, not exactly. Look at the domain, super-memory.com. That's not the Supermemo help. That is the dark. Is yet another one. Even though it appears like the same, because it's from older versions of Supermemo. And in this case, you have beginner, professional, and just a screenshot. Doesn't help much. Okay. Then we have the wiki help, which have Shift F2 key binding. That's the one. Exactly. Here now I have the levels, and that's precisely the website I wanted. Do you see I still have the same beginner and professional, same from here? And the description, levels, warrior, seems to be more or less the same. Perhaps the links or the hyperlinks are different. Yeah, on hover doesn't do that. I need to click. But other than that, the content is more or less the same. Not necessarily. Sometimes it has been updated. So always check this. So you go to the version you're using. If you come from Google and whatever. What may happen is that if you check this, Supermemo Archive, Supermemo Memory, Supermemo.com, something like that, there are many other domains, it won't be up to date. It's very likely it's outdated. So remember, so far, it's the wiki help, the one recommended. That's why it has the key binding. HTML help. Don't do it. Supermemopedia for the when people can ask questions. Could be interesting. And if it doesn't fall back to anything, you can go to just the regular search. This is just Google. Supermemo level. And what it does, in this case, I added Supermemo myself. There's no need for that, because this feature just adds Supermemo. And then in this case, look at that. It's Guru. Yet another website. And look at that. Beginner, professional. The screenshots, and more or less, once again, the same description. That is because when Piotr Wozniak, sorry, that's not Guru. Why it says Guru, but the domain is Supermemo? Oh, that's very weird. That's yet a good example. Yet another place, and this is for Supermemo 2000. This is more than 2 decades old. The screenshots are different. Why? Because the UI has changed. They are no longer 2 rows, 2 columns. So they only change it when they are, let's say, forced to change it. That now this layout is no longer true. Let's change it back. That means that in the official documentation, by the way, there are some features that the screenshot is from 10 years ago, but it's still relevant. Nothing has changed on those 10 years. As a recap, the web is online. It just goes to the main page. YouTube goes to the Supermemopedia page of YouTube to see channels that we cover Supermemo. You can search the wiki, which is the same as the first option, but you first do the query. The other one goes to the main page, and then if you want, you do the search. It's almost the same thing. Then the same for Supermemopedia, or just Google, pre-appending Supermemo, that's it, or the HTML help. This is for older Supermemos. So let's say category. Let's say in this case I would see the U factor. It's more or less the same thing, but instead of using the built-in search on the website, a factor, it's using Google. As simple as that. So in this case, I have the glossary. Oh, what is a factor? And from Google, I got the same result, glossary. But hey, not exactly the same, because here it's on page, and here is within a list. So it's, oh my god. So yeah, there's, strictly speaking, there's a difference. But the only difference is what is called transclusion. There's no need to explain what it is in case you don't know. We can simplify. You don't need to use that. Use straight Google. So don't use the HTML help. That's all you need to know about that. And just to let you know that later we will see some other features that overlap with that. And just as a preview, web search. Do you see Ctrl F3? And here it's Shift F2, it's not the same thing. So if I do this, it's web search, and I could do, again, a factor. And now I can select, and I can go to the Supermemo help wiki, Supermemo through Google, we have done that already, Supermemopedia, or Supermemo Guru. So if I select this one, it's redundant, it's the same effect. Help wiki, redundant, same effect. Straight Google was the last option. on the menu, same effect. The only new, and Wikipedia, same effect. So the only new is that I have the guru. I can specify the guru, among other things that is not from Supermemo, the guru. And here you go. And now I go the A factor on the guru page. Oh my god, yet another official Supermemo documentation website. And here you can see, this is what you get from the Google, this headlight, but you can see that, sorry, it's not the same definition now. Look at the A factor here. Do you see? For items, for topics, the origins, look at this. Number associated, if I just determine the height, hey, it's not the same phrasing. And if I go to the glossary, hey, for items, if factors, and for tasks, and So that looks more or less the same, but presented in a different way. So keep that in mind. Always default, not to this one, that's the archive, gone, to this one, Supermemo help, the .org, as a rule of thumb. That's all you need to know about help and web, and how to get anything you want from Supermemo websites, including YouTube. This concludes this menu, the help menu, and everything else that is unlocked will be done within the course. So we just started Supermemo. We have been using the beginner level. So the next thing that we have already in the help menu is the user survey. And basically this opens yet again a Supermemo wiki page, but it's not the same one. If you remember, help and welcome opens this one, which is help.supermemo.org. And this is supermemopedia.com, not the same place. And basically those are options to ask for users. Kind of, you would say that, oh, those are super long questions. You may think, oh, it's just for expert users. But they also include questions for that the newbies could answer. What happens is that usually a newbie will classify that, okay, they will complain about the user interface, the documentation, user unfriendliness. So there's almost unlikely that a newbie could provide any feedback that is new, more or less. I actually did this myself as some sort of example to try incremental writing, which, by the way, we will see in this course. So feel free to do this and send it. We have the past feedback, but this was done until the 2001. So it's been 2 decades that I guess they got some entries, but they don't share the results. Even though you can guess more or less what will happen. So for multiple choice questions, you have the percentage and all of that. So if you don't care, that's an option you can safely ignore for the rest of your life. So we are in the basic level of Supermemo interface. We have seen all of that until FAQ. So now it's time for hints and tips. And we are back to the Supermemo help, not Supermemopedia. And here is super awesome because these are all of the details about each level. We're now in the beginner, in the basic level. So I have done an introduction video telling you, hey, we have this menu now. I can actually do it. That before we only had those 4, right? User survey, welcome, question of the day, and about. And now we have all of those, from guide to context. Now covering hints and tips. But yeah, we also have some other here, copy collection, installation, something like that. If you want to know all of the precise details, you have it here in this page. Middle and professional is the last one. Something I will mention in that level, and I know because I already recorded that video, because I'm recording incrementally, is that statistics are only available on the professional level, for instance. So if you want to sneak peek everything. Here you have all of the details. I don't consider this necessary because what I'm introducing is just a selection of help most of the time, because all of the features that are introduced, we will see them in context, not for the sake, oh, let's go by option in the menu, next option in the menu, next option in the menu. No, we're not going to do this. That's why I will go straight with professional level, even though this is the section of the course, is the first running Supermemo for the first time, is because I massively, strongly suggest to go to professional right away. I actually did that myself as a user on the first day as well. So here you can know all of the details that are being hidden from you. That then, oh, now that I'll use the middle, I can use that. But this will make sense if you use incremental reading, you work with images, and you want to trim an image, let's say, using the middle level. But this restriction doesn't make sense, because at the end of the day, Supermemo is not adapting the user interface at all, or the descriptions of what does the tooltip, the description. What is this feature doing? You have a tooltip description. That doesn't change. So it's just hiding stuff from you. But then it will be the handicap that, hey, what is this option? I see the video on this YouTube video. I see the menu on this YouTube video. I cannot see it myself. Yeah, because you're using the middle level, for instance. For business justified. So I'm using the levels just for those option details that are hard-coded. So you have to go there. There's no flow in Supermemo that will be leading you to there. So you can use hints and tips for knowing all of those details, if you will. And then some overview, very broad overview, very high level of incremental reading. And video even, the most minimum thing possible. Remember, our hints and tips, it's not exhaustive. So it's not like a changelog that, hey, in this level you have unlocked all of that. It's from now on, this was hidden, now you can use it. It's not the same thing. So at the end of the day, if you follow this course, you will need to click here at all. Never in your life. So let's continue with Supermemo using the basic level of the UI. We have seen the guide. Now it's time for the contents. That was not available before on the beginner. And once again opens a page in the documentation. And this case is about menus, buttons, and dialogues. So now the focus is on the hard skills, more or less. Like the windows, there are the dialogues, the toolbars, all of those, more menus, the shortcuts, all of that. So this is more or less hard skills, opposite of soft. But you also have overviews of this. Overview of incremental learning, reading, video, visual learning, priority queue, backup, knowledge tree, all of that. Overviews. That means that this is a curated selection, missing details, and sometimes important blocks, because it's just the first layer. Because you will get introduced to Supermemo incrementally. Even in this course, that I prioritize the linearity of being interacted to anything, that I take care of this. That's why we haven't seen the windows yet. Imagine that. So incremental reading. Hey, in this case it's a white lie. It's not an introduction. It's the entire thing. That's not newbie friendly. Well, yes, but not day 1, day 2. Sorry. Because incremental reading here, sorry, that was my mistake. Even I'm confusing this now. Because incremental reading article in this website is different from the incremental reading of a different Supermemo website. In this case, yes, it's the 5 basic skills of Supermemo, other basic skills, hints and tips, advantages and disadvantages. We will cover everything here. And that's different from the article I thought that is much larger. That is how to do this with templates, or the specifics in Supermemo. So yeah, it's a good reading. But if you follow this course, there's no need to do that, because I have pre-selected all of those options and rearranged the order. Not only that, I also make sure that what I say or present has been covered. I won't be using windows that we haven't introduced yet, or stuff like that. That does not do in Supermemo, even in this section. So remember, contents are about menus. That, oh yeah, what is, for instance, how this is called, right? Or, oh yeah, I have the contents, here it is, yeah, what is this window? Stuff like that. Oh, let me go to the contents window. Here you go, contents window. And then you can expand. But if you go now to contents, hey, that's not much, right? Yeah, but because then everything has their own page. So button panel, what you see at the bottom, oh yeah, it's its own page. Or the toolbar, the options here, it's its own. Then you have the description of every single option. This is more or less what I'm doing now, that hey, this option in the menu is for this thing. And you could go and visit and try it yourself, or just follow the course. So let's continue with Supermemo, the basic level. And another thing we unlock using this level is the FAQ, frequently asked questions. And this time goes to Supermemo Wikipedia, not the help. So it's tricky. It's not always the same wiki page. So then is, okay, introductions, easy. See the FAQ below. Use Control F3 search in Supermemo. Just Google this. If you don't see it, email, because it could be a bug. What I must say is that yes, since Supermemo has been around for more than 3 decades, it's very likely that what you will experience as a newbie is documented. Even the philosophy behind your opinion of this feature will be covered. All of that. I have found bugs, and something that no one reported, just a few months in Supermemo, but my case is an outlier, because I was trying every single detail possible. I was going through the documentation to see all of the holes possible, but usually that won't be the case for you. And you have whatever is for you. It's about formation of knowledge, it's about video, about artificial intelligence, the feature of Supermemo, that IS closed source, what happens if Wozniak dies. It's about registration, I don't get the key, about the documentation itself. Let's do that. And you can get to some pages. And then you have the meta FAQ. Most often asked questions about the most often asked questions. And it's sad that the key is then the first and the second one are the people who are not getting the key, or not even response for not getting the key. The same here, same number 5. And then you get this list of next questions, which is dynamically updated, I think. But not that much, because there's not much activity anymore. That's the one dynamic, yeah. I think that's an error. It's not meant to be like this. Perhaps now they have missed a plugin in the website, I don't know. But just to let you know that this might change with time. Usually you won't click like that. Oh, let me click here. Let me click here. This could be the case that, hey, I will not search for that, but now that I see it, oh yeah, let me go to this thing. How I can use Supermemo for non-technical books and all of that. But other than that, you will first experience the difficulty or the bug, and then look for this. Let's say that I have a bug with Supermemo. Oh yeah, I will look at that. That I want to use the superscript or subscript for whatever reason, chemistry or whatever, or math. Then I will look for that. It's not that you preemptively look for this, unless you're a freak of Supermemo like me. That I not only have seen all of those, but all of the website. more than 2,000 pages. So that's all you need to know about the FAQ. Again, a shortcut. That, hey, I want to ask something, let me see what's the most frequently asked, which website it is, like all of the options. Oh yeah, and I will go there, whatever that is. It is acting like a bookmark at the end of the day. So now we're going back to the basic level of Supermemo layout. Do you see now I have the status bar at the bottom? Cool. And on top of that, now we have more options in the help menu. We have seen welcome ABC, user survey, question of the day, and about. So we have all of those options, from guide to context. So we'll see each one of them in this video. In this case, we'll start with guide because, well, it's bolded. Why it's bold? And here you go, once again, it's just a shortcut to a Supermemo documentation page. And it's again Supermemo 19 help, the .org. Remember the last time was Supermemopedia, the user survey, and the same for introduction. And look at that, the ABC. You remember this already covers the ABC, and then the summary and important reading. Well, step by step to Supermemo mastery, it's actually here, the third one. So in other words, this guide that is unlocked on the next level, the basic, is covered in the welcome, but in the third further reading option. And keep in mind that in this further reading, you have options that are way above basic or beginner, by the way. Like incremental learning. Includes basic and beginner, but goes beyond that. In this case, you have this step-by-step Supermemo mastery. It's rather short, and it's like an introduction. But for instance, we will see that position of the size on the windows, in the layouts, knowledge formulation, because usually this will be the bottleneck. Once you overcome the difficulties of the hard skills, how to use Supermemo, this menu, this thing, your limiting factor will be the formulation of knowledge. The principles, how you process the knowledge. Do you see that most of the content is about the knowledge, the soft skills, rather than the hard, the menus and all of those? How to add pictures. Again, your items, formulation, then templates, subset review, audio introduction. We will cover everything that is here, we will cover in each video in a very atomic way. So just to let you know that you have this guide as a shortcut. That I don't know if I bookmarked this page or which one it is, because there are many almost overlapping pages. They look almost the same. You know where to get that guide. And it's easy because it's the only one that is bolded. So we're going to learn how we can change the splash picture. In this case, now I have none. No worries. In case you have none, because you messed up, or you know what you did, just close up Supermemo, and if you start again, it will reappear. Most of the time, it will reappear. If it doesn't, you need to close something or just restart the computer and that will fix it. Then, Ace, yeah, I want my own picture, my splash picture, not this one. So just click on this, here on the folder. You select the image. By the way, you can preview it or not, depends on you. You can click preview here. And you can select stretch or not, so you can see how large it is. In this case, I think it will be way too large. Okay. Then click OK. You could also search if you have a ton of images. For me, it's not required. Select OK, and here you go. Even though the image is much larger, it gets rescaled. So that means that from now on, when I start Supermemo, I will see this picture instead. Let's try that. I accept again, here you go. It goes super fast because this collection is empty. Usually you will see the picture for a few seconds. 3, 2, 1, here you go. This is how you can add your own image if you want. Easy to do. So perhaps you may use the splash image and you may have changed this image. But now is, oh man, how do I restore the default? I want once again the Supermemo face, right? Well, do I need to download that image and then put it here? No, doesn't need to. And this is true for Supermemo 18 or whatever version. So the face will change, but the feature is the same one. This is the start. This is a demo, a demonstration of how counterintuitive Supermemo can be, even for this simple thing. So if I want to change, I don't want to change. I want to go to the default. Instead of clicking reset, I need to choose a folder to an image that I won't be selecting. Then I cancel the menu. And when I have this, clear the picture. Which picture? Because I haven't selected any. You say yes. And now, there's no image. And it will stay like that while I use Supermemo. Once I close it down and I open it again, now I see the default once again. So imagine how you're supposed to know you need to do all of this trickery instead of just clicking reset or restore default. Easy to do, but that is just a piece of a preview that in Supermemo, when you have something that is really complex, not changing one image, something complex, you need to know what you're doing, the ins and outs on how it is designed, how it is implemented, and sometimes goes very, very far of what you will think with common sense. It's counterintuitive in nature. That's the reason I'm doing this course. So we have seen the question of the day, something we can use in Supermemo using the basic layout. Help, question of the day. Now I'm using two collections. So I have this. What stage of learning process does incremental reading accelerate? Comprehension. Oh, good to know. I want to remember this. Okay, what happened? I don't know. Now I got a different question. Hey, what happened here? Now I have a flashcard about this. Which stage of learning process does incremental reading accelerate? I need to close the window. Okay, here you go. What's the answer? What's comprehension? Welcome to Supermemo. That's because in my case I'm using an extra component. Perhaps that was the case. So I just started in a new collection. Let me match this all one. Okay. So question of the day. How can you add an article to Supermemo for incremental reading? Again, multiple ways to achieve that. One of those, copy the article to the clipboard and paste it with Ctrl-N. Okay, in this case, I would rephrase the question as how you add a new node. That's how it's called in Supermemo. Let's remember that. But you will see now that, hey, now it works because it's a brand new collection. In your case, this will work because you just started the collection. But if you have a collection of someone else or you just messed something up, it's a clear example that, oh, shoot, now the question is gone and stuff like that. That's why in Supermemo, it's really, really important to know what you're doing, the ins and outs, and how to avoid and overcome some bugs because they're not going to be fixed. So you need to know that's not the best option, but it's safer because you avoid the bugs. Another question, how you can you swap the question with the answer? Swap QA. Ctrl-Shift-S. Yes, remember that. Here you go. So basically, I'm creating the items. This is called an item in Supermemo. We'll see that later. And it's basically a flashcard. So instead of recreating this myself, I just have that. So from now on, this question and answer is already in my collection, and I will see this with a space repetition already. I don't have to type it in myself. How can you import an article from Wikipedia? Well, Microsoft Edge, I don't use this browser. And Shift. Well, again, there are more import methods, especially to Wikipedia. I will delete this one. It's not specific enough. What is the purpose of sleep chart? Collecting your sleep data, Okay, let me remember. The purpose of plan. Oh wow, this is really meta. How you can introduce question of the day into learning process in Supermemo? Choose remember. This should have been a question asked sooner, not the number 8. I don't know how many I have. Let me do this, even though this is just temporary. Because once I'm done with the questions, I don't need that. So you get the thing, right? I can close that. I have enough. So what will happen is that next day, I open Supermemo, or next time in the same day, I open Supermemo and I will get this prompt. Well, as long as I have the checkbox. And eventually I will run out of questions. This is what happened with this collection, that I no longer have questions. And just to let you know, if I go to contents, those are the flashcards I created, but something we'll realize later is that they have no title. We have what's called the placeholder, which is why. That looks like a non-implementation or a bug, but why don't use the title, even though it's not a big deal. But just to let you know, there's this little bug that when you create an element like that, it doesn't have a title. What's the purpose of plan? It's not there. This can be solved, by the way. So that's most of what you need to know about the question of the day. So sometimes you may have weird displays of Supermemo, like in this image. Then I cannot reproduce it now with my computer. That is a different thing if you have high DPI setting. This is how it looks terrible for whatever reason. This could be the case if you use freeware versions of Supermemo. So regardless of the version, what you're going to do, in the installation, you just right-click, Properties, then you go to the Compatibility, and you click here, Run this program in compatibility mode for an older version. This could be the case. Now I'm using Windows 10 in this old computer. If you use Windows 11, perhaps you want to choose Windows 10, especially if you use Supermemo 16, you want to rely on Internet Explorer at some degree, or you have any random bug, any weird bug that it may be fixed with just this. Then, if what you have is the high DPI setting, that is like it doesn't scale, then you will just click here, change high DPI settings, and then use the setting to fix problems for this program instead of one in the settings. This is usually the case if you have a laptop which the resolution is very high, it will look too tiny, and Windows readjust the rescaling this higher. I had a computer that was 150%, meaning everything was 50% larger than usual, because the pixels were so compressed physically that then everything looked so tiny, but was the correct resolution. Sometimes Supermemo doesn't do this well, almost virtually all of the time that you use DPI. So just click here, OK, apply, and then you can run Supermemo and it will be fine. I cannot test this now because the laptop I have now doesn't have high DPI settings. But before I had to, if you have 2K or 4K screen, it's very likely the case. If this doesn't fix it, like in the image we have seen, then run this, compatibility mode. This should only be the case if you use Supermemo 16, or in case you watch this video later, any freeware version that was designed for older versions of Windows. Usually when a new version, freeware version is released, they make the effort to update it to the current version of Windows, but sometimes it's not always the case. So here's the solution for those niche cases. So that's all. You should have now be able to run Supermemo how it's meant to be. And you can proceed with the course. So This video is to cover just the false positive. When you install Supermemo or you update Supermemo, the executable file will say, hey, there's a virus, right? Then you need an antivirus for this. I cannot replicate this because it's been more than 15 years that I don't use an antivirus. You shouldn't do it either. The best antivirus is the user. Unless you install fishy software or video games illegally, stuff like this, there's no reason for that. But let's put this aside. If you use an antivirus, Supermemo, it's easy to trigger as an antivirus, to be triggered as a malicious software and so on. This is basically because it monitors your tabs on the browser, stuff like this. Nice. So, no worries about it. Just whitelist Supermemo. There's nothing you could suspect. I will do this that is online, something I will never trust in my life to do it online, by the way. And I will choose one of the ones I just downloaded. Okay. And I will put it here. Let's see, Supermemo 19. Confirm upload. So you will do this or use your own antivirus software. Boom! Mac Secure, Trojan, malware. In this case, it's been the only one. So usually the common sense will tell you that it's unlikely that's the case because it's only one antivirus who succeeded out of 70. So I guess you will subjectively trust one over the other. No, I don't trust this, but I trust, I don't know, Microsoft, Panda, or whatever. Back in the day when there was Windows XP, I used Panda for a few years, and that was it in my case. As easy as that. So you don't have anything to worry about Supermemo as long as you download Supermemo from the store. Just make sure you don't get a pirated version, a cracked version, and so on. From the official store. And remember to use my affiliate link so you get 10% discount. The only way to get a discount, my link. There's no any other link you can use. Yeah, that's more or less about it. You will see this time to time. It happened for many years, and it will continue happening, basically. So it's always the same story. No worries about this false positive. We're going to see something I hope you never want to do. That is to uninstall Supermemo. So you just go to your C drive, or the place you have installed it. Usually it's the C drive. You will get, let's say it's the 15. Because I have many versions, right? Oh, look, I did this one, the trial. Imagine for you will be Supermemo, and that's it. It will be this one here. Okay. So you just click on SM19 and in for uninstall. Say yes. Uninstalling from, make sure it's just Supermemo, it's not something else. Click on next, a few seconds, and that's it. Then it says this. Supermemo uninstall wizard has not removed some of the files. Why? For your convenience. Because you have removed the software files, binary files, but you keep your collection. What you have done. You would like to remove them now. If you say yes, you see the systems. The ABC collection and your entire collection you may have done will be deleted as well. Perhaps you think, oh, I'm done. I don't want to know anything about Supermemo ever again. Sometimes then you have a change of heart. Many people have that they try off and on just because of the difficulty of learning Supermemo. Then they come back and then they have to start over because they have lost what they had. So if you select yes, it will delete that. If I say no, I will keep it. The bin is, well, in this case it's very dummy because it's a trial, I haven't done that. But you will have your customized layouts, whatever you have done. And the systems, you will have the images you added, all of your repetition history, all of your elements, the stats, everything. Here I have an example. The custom styling, the custom layouts I have done, and so on. So here you have most of the stuff. So it's up to you. If you only did dummy things that you don't care, feel free. If you don't, even if you think you're not going to come back, just keep it and then do a backup. I have many collections. Just do a backup and zip it. And that's it. You never know. So that's how you uninstall Supermemo. Quite easy and quick. And I hope you never need to do this unless it's like me. It's because you have updated Supermemo or you had multiple versions and you want to delete one version, or perhaps you did the trial, then you decided which version to use, and then you uninstall the other versions. I hope that's the case. So you know that themes was the new introduction from Supermemo 18. And now we have Supermemo 19. You may think, hey, aren't more themes added? No, I don't think so. Are the same ones. And they do look the same. That's what I thought. I'm using the default Windows theme. And now I'm using Supermemo 19. That's how it looks. Pay attention to that. I will quit Supermemo. And I will be opening the same collection from Supermemo 18 in this case. Nice. Okay, 1 second. Professional. Okay, now it's unlocked. So now I will open the exact same collection. I don't want the ABC here. So, okay, my collection. Then themes. Do you see have windows? Okay, what I have lost is the layout because it depends on the executable. But no worries. It will be easier if I do the warrior layout. Do you see it's still purple? The gradation of purple, mostly white, but pay attention to the statistics window. It's all white as well. I will make the screenshot. Let me open it again with Supermemo 19. Now, my collection, F5. Do you see any difference? Look at the statistics window. For whatever reason, I asked to Piotr Wozniak, and that is intended. It's intentional. That all of what you see that is yellow is intended to be yellow. It's terrible. Not only looks terrible, looks distracting. Too much focus over white. It looks a lot better on the older Supermemo 18. And for whatever reason, this only affects certain themes. Like Windows, you cannot see, you won't be able to see this in the preview. So let's say this one. And this one, for whatever reason, is not affected. Not on the fields, but this is still affected at the bottom. So when there are no more fields, this empty space, you get this yellow color, yellow background. So if you just adjust it, okay, no big deal. You don't see this yellow. So this is fine. This theme actually works, turquoise gray. But if I put another one, sky, let's say, happens the same thing. So this is a feature. It's intentional. I don't know why. So if you dislike this yellow thing and you want to use Supermemo 19, adjust the layout so you don't see this ever. And in case you use a dark theme, it's the same thing. It even contrasts more the yellow over black. This is terrible. Terrible decision. You cannot change that. So at least for now, the only solution, either resize the collection, and in case you don't even like that, just use the themes, very few themes that are not affected, like this. So okay, instead of Supermemo Windows 10, instead of Windows, that everything is yellow, is terrible, then I am forced in Supermemo 19 to select the Windows 10, that is slightly different. Do you see I no longer have the pinkish, purplish colors, but I don't have either the yellowish colors in the stats window. That you don't use the stats window at all. Okay, no worries. That doesn't affect you. That you use the stats window, which I suggest, at least for this, for the review field, is the only place on the interface that you know if you are in the pending queue, you are in the neural review, subset review, it's only shown here. That's why I have the stats window at all times. So remember this limitation. Is Supermemo 1907 will fix this, or 20? But for now, this cannot be changed. It is what it is. Hope this detail is covered and doesn't provide any friction. See you incrementally. So in case you have multiple collections in Supermemo and you want to use a different theme for each one, there's one theme you cannot use, and it's the Windows. So in this case, I'm using Windows 10. Let me change it to a dark theme. Okay. So now my collection uses a dark theme. Now I choose the no name. Hey, how come it's using the same theme? If I go to Windows and theme, hey, that was not the case. So let me create yet another collection. No name 2. Okay, in this case gets the theme. Now I select Windows. Nice. So remember, no name 2 has Windows. I go back to the no name. Now I have this, the dark theme, the caracal. Then I go back to the no name 2, and whoops, where's my Windows theme? It's gone. Becomes caracal dark slate. This is because when you use the theme called Windows, it's bugged. And because it's like the placeholder. If you remember, when you create your first, when you open a collection for the first time, it will have this theme. If you open a collection older than Supermemo 718, like could be Supermemo 17, which had no themes, the theme set will be Windows. It's the placeholder. But has this bug. I reported this, and Piotr Wozniak doesn't care about this, so sorry about that. Don't use this theme if you use different collections and you want to keep different themes for each collection. Because every time you go to the other collection, the theme will carry over. And you will need to select Windows manually every single time. It doesn't happen if you choose Windows 10 dark, well, something purple, let's say. Then I go to no name, which has the dark one. Nice. I go back, and it keeps it. And it's one of the few that I like because of this degradation. If you use the element data window, it's actually pretty cool. So, turns out, because of this bug, if you don't want to manually select every single time, make your life easier, and choose any other theme other than Windows. Tiny detail, but could be problematic. I want to make something more obvious, even if you are in the fluency track, that we won't cover much the multiple collections flow. Just to let you know that the layouts we have built, now in this state, I have course, contents, browser, last used, which is a special, and random 1, 2, and 3. Then if I change collections, now in this case is my own collection, the Pleasurable Learning. If I go to any one, like English, let's say, do you see now I have a different theme because theme is part of the collection. Awesome. But hey, I have the exactly same layout, right? Yes, because they are shared. So now I see this with a different theme. It's a dark theme in this case, but the layouts are shared. Why? because this is saved in Layouts.ini. We can visit that file. It is here. It's in the bin folder. That means that does not depend on the collection. If it was in the collection, I will need to go to Systems, then select, in this case it's the ABC, and it will be here. But you have the collection.ini instead. And if I go to precisely to this collection, in my case I have an extreme level of redundancy, as you can see. It won't be your case. Even the backups, they have a lot of redundancy. Here it is. Here are stored my layouts. And if I go to my main collection, which is this, the learning, I have search, postpone, fill, I have other files, but not the layouts. That is more or less proof to say that collections do share the layouts. If you really want it, you could have different Supermemo installations, like I did. So imagine you have Supermemo 19, or even 19 trial, and the purpose of that is that you have different bin folders. That's it. Then in this case, you could have dedicated layouts. This usually is an overkill. I don't suggest that. Let's say that I have a dedicated collection for English, and I have a dedicated layout for English. Just use them. Call it English, and that's it. And just set it. Now this is random. Imagine this is the one I want, and that's it. So now you know that layouts are shared across collections, should I say, on the same installation in the bin folder. Now it's time to cover the last used layout. You may have noticed that if we go to the layout manager, there's the last used. But what is this? I never created such layout. This is a very special layout. It's a nightmare. I actually spent more than 1 hour recording different versions of this same video you're seeing now. So that is the official report that is still not yet covered on the official documentation, at least at the time of the recording. So the last used first, if it doesn't exist, it's recreated. That's the thing. And then is updated. When is updated? When the browser is open. If the contents or browser layouts are at the top of the layout stack, last used is not saved. What does that mean? That if the top of the last used, now I don't see that, but if the course, but if it was browser or contents, the first two, here it's just purely alphabetical order. It's just a coincidence that they are the first two. If they are both, if there's one of them, either contents or browser, because there are built-in reserved layouts, the last used is not saved. Gotcha. But it will be saved in the following moments. At the level change. So when we have changed this, the level access level to middle, beginner, and so on, this updates and saves the last used layout. When we apply templates, it's still too soon, but here if I can have the article picture, let's say, almost changes the background color. Hey, the last used has changed. So now if we go here, this is already different now, or could be different, because it has been saved. Or when creating or choosing a collection. So if I go here, I open a different collection, or I create a new one, it will also be, whoops, let me cancel. It will also be saved. And when closing a collection, file and exit, or you close down Supermemo with the X at the corner, the last used layout will be saved under the condition that the last used is at the top of the stack. That means that before quitting, let's say that I do this change, pop, and I quit, Supermemo will save that I have moved this window about 20 pixels to the right side. And when the last used is in use, apply default layout has no effect. Why? Because you already have that. So let's put this into practice. File, exit. Okay, now if I open Supermemo once again, hey, it restored, right? Yeah, it's because I have the course. If I use last used, then what I'm using now, let's actually check that. It says last used. Let me verify that. But hey, wait. Why on earth it become the default? I want the default to be the course. Make default. And I want to apply just this. Okay. So now, if I do rearrange that here and here, something quick and easy, I'm not going to spend much time making this pretty. And I change the level to middle. Okay, what happened now? Let me toggle last used. The same. Let me go to course. Okay, that's what I got. Then let me go back to last used. Hey, that's the last used that I didn't save. Because this last used layout for Supermemo only exists for the convenience when the user hasn't bothered saving any layout. That's good to know. That's why I'm showing this to you, at least in the mastery track. And hopefully you'll never need to bother about this again, because I strictly suggest to have the layouts saved and always covered all windows, meaning that you don't have to cycle through the browser to cycle to the contents layout because you already have the contents. So this switch is not useful. Then we verified that already. So now this last used is actually saved in the file. So if I go to the layouts and .ini, do you see last used has been saved with the coordinates? That's why I suggest that as long as you have always your own layouts, you never need to have the last used. And what happens now, just to prove a point, if I delete it? Gone. Do you see now there's nowhere in the list? Let me quit Supermemo. Let me reopen it. Okay. Let's see what happened now. It's not there. Okay. As long as I take one of those actions, it will be there. So what I'm going to do now is open the browser window, like this. Now I have forced the implicit layout switch or automated switch. I changed it back just by closing. Let me go back to where it was. Okay. And let's see. Boom, last used. Here is created. I hope you got all of this. And even if you didn't, there's no need to spend more time understanding this if you really don't want to, because you don't need to. You will just ignore the last used forever and just use your own layouts. So we have seen this file, the layout, .ini file. Nice. What we can do is to reset this. Do you see that only the layout number 9 gets to the menu? There's no 10 and so on. Nice. Here we could have, I don't know if there's a limit, I didn't try, but I never heard people complaining about that. So perhaps there's 100, 200, or thousands, I don't know. So let's say that you don't want that. Oh, I want the course number 6 to make it to the menu. I will do it here. I'll copy paste, and the classic, I don't care, here you go. And then you could delete that if you want. It's not actually required, but I will do it for convenience. So that means that now, hey, here you go, course number 6. Or, hey, there's a lot of noise, that there's a lot of layouts I'm not going to use, right? Well, you can actually clean it. So let's do that. That I get rid of all of the other courses. I only want the 1st and the 6th. And that's about it. Do you see they're not even in order? 1, 2, 4, 3, 5. Those are not in sequence. From the 2, it jumps to the 4. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's not that clean, but it doesn't matter in the sense that it will work anyways. Do you see? I got rid of the other layouts. Super cool. And they will reappear once again when I go to the layout manager. And what I have done is not what I have thought, because now we're at the course number 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. Let me close the file and reopen it again so it is up to date. Are here. Course 4, course 3, and 2. Here you go. So they are not lost. It's there. The information is there, assuming that you will have different information here. Those are just copies of the same for my convenience. So it does easy as edit back this. So I will do it like this. So you have course 2, 3, 4, and 5. I did an extra copy. Nice. And then the layout numbers, they have to be unique. So I will keep the order, even though it's not required. Now it's for my convenience. As a human, it's easier. That will be 6, 7, and 8. If I did it right. Let's save. And here you go. They're there once again. And they work because they are actually defined in the file. The information has not been gone. It's kept. You will need to delete it from here as well. Please don't. So remember that. If you ever want this flow because you have OCD and doing this, it triggers me whatever, you can clean it. But remember that if you ever want to undo and add, you'll need to add those. And if you want to delete it forever, so I know I don't want to delete it from here, but the entire thing, instead, go to the layout manager and delete them from here. I will do the 5, delete it, and then number 4. Nice. So now, if I open the same file again, I have to open it once again because it doesn't update. Then they are gone from here, okay, but they're also gone from here. I have the course 3 and the 6. I don't have the 4 and 5. So remember, you want them gone forever, use the layout. That you want only to hide from the menu after you have used them because it's weird, it triggers you for whatever reason, you have this flow. How many layouts do I have? This one, number 6. Then if I add a new one, which I can actually do because I still have the course number 6, is this one, not course number 6. It won't appear. It will appear now because I add it. But the number 6 is a lie. I have 7. What's going to happen? I have 7. And if I go to the layout manager, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So now if I go back and I open the same file once again, it still says 6. If I change it to 7, yeah, same here, and same in the layout manager. Now, if I change for something else, like 16, it still says 7. And in the layout manager, so if you mess with this number, it's safe. I don't know when it's ever used. I don't know if it causes any trouble. Just either don't touch it or update it to stick with the truth. Meaning that if you add manually, like I did, a 7 layout, and that was a 6, then just update it to 7. That's it. But now, let's put 17. And do you think it's going to update? Let's try. So I'm going to delete 1, let's say the number 3. Delete that. Boom. What's going to happen now? See, if I go to the file, it's actually updated. So no worries. It doesn't update, and if you delete something, then it updates anyways. So nothing to worry about. So that's all you need to know about getting rid of this, the pros, cons, or all of the minute details that, hey, I lost a layout. No, it's just hidden. You cannot apply it on the interface, but it's still there. Stuff like that. So I'm going to share something that is, obviously it's optional, but one of the examples of the layouts for reading. So first, what you see here, the space that is massive and so on, that's the template. We will see this later on. Now it's only about the layout. So in that case, I don't need the stats, I don't need the topics, I don't need the element data, I don't even need the contents. Yep, what happened here? It's because now something has reapplied because the contents was not in the layout I had. No worries, I'll do it again. So I only have the element window. This is especially useful if you want to focus on reading. No distractions. Because sometimes one of the flows you can have in Supermemo is to read fiction, a novel, linearly. You just schedule to reading. As easy as that. That, hey, I want to read several novels at the same time, concurrently. Like I watch different TV shows or Netflix shows. One episode of this one, episode of the another one, then I watch the second episode of the first one. Same with books, right? I have one romance, something about more like crime and police or detective kind of novel, and one about fantasy, let's say. So I use Supermemo to schedule that. So I don't care about extracting the templates because the only thing I'm going to do is just reading. So in this case, you can have a layout for that. So now I will just save it and I will call it reading. This can also be the case if you do incremental video, that you have the entire video embedded in YouTube. So you want the entire screen to be the video, like full screen kind of experience. It's another way to do it. So depends. For me, it's reading. It will be like this. I can temporarily change the layout implicitly. If now I go to something long, like this, and boom, and I will be reading. Pam, 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 pam. That it's a story. Perhaps anecdotically, I will have an extract of, oh, what is this word? I have never seen that. And I will make a language item out of that. But it will be anecdotal. It's just, okay, ta-da-da-da. Cool, I'm done. Then second chapter, third chapter. You know what I mean? So you have a dedicated layout for that. Sorry, it's not even applied. Something. Oh my god, nice. And then it's, hey, it's very to the left, right? I want this to be centered. You'll need to customize this, like this. I'm advancing the material already. But this is on the domain of templates that we will see later on. What you see here in the gray area, all of this is the element. Doesn't apply to the layout at all. Cool. Again, one of the main examples, I'm only going to cover one example of each category, using multiple tools, not just Supermemo, to have a focused reading and stuff like this, because there are many different possibilities with the layouts. That would be the first video in 4K in this channel. And there's a reason for this, because today I want to share with you about the dual screen layouts in Supermemo 19. This feature is only available in Supermemo 19. So let me know if that is a feature worth buying, Supermemo 19. So what happens now is that I don't use the full screen in Supermemo. I use Chrome. This is just a placeholder. I don't want to share my genuine Chrome here. I will have ChatGPT, Copilot, or whatever I use with AI, along with Supermemo. What happens that I don't have the knowledge tree, and some other windows are kind of crowded, right? Well, now I can use the second monitor you will see on my the right side. So you have like a mirror thing for me. So what you see on my right side, even if for me it's the opposite direction, in the recording you will see it the other way around, it's my second monitor. Now I can use my second monitor as one single layout. So in this video, I'm going to share different use cases that you may want to use this feature for. One is to use one collection into monitors, one collection partially into monitors. So like now that I'm not using the full screen in the first screen, neither the second screen for my convenience, because I want to have something else at all times. And third, how you can use multiple collections at the same time that are visible at all times. You don't have to go alt left or click whatever. So let's start. In this case, I will start with the second point I set, because that will be my genuine setup, how it's my layout. Remember, I just call it Laptop 2024. So let's say that first I want the contents. Boom! The contents goes to a different place, a second monitor. Then, okay, what else? Yeah, the statistics. I don't need the statistics at all times. I only pick at the stats to know this when I'm using a subset review, stuff like this. That is only available here. So I don't even need the entire thing. Well, that's not what I wanted to do. But for the sake of the example, let's do it. Both monitors are Full HD. 1920 pixels by 1080 pixels. But the second monitor, it's in vertical. So now I can have more space, it's less crowded, and you know what? I still want this on the corner, so I will do it like this. And then what happens? That, wait, I'm not limited to this width. I can make it more, wider, than always 3. I don't require this for the stats, so that's good enough, or even the opposite is true. And I save the template. Sorry, I saved the layout with the same name. That depends. If you use your collection in different computers, and one computer is a laptop that you only have one screen, perhaps you want to differentiate that. So you have one layout for the laptop and one for the desktop. In this case, to simplify, I will just overwrite the one I have. So that means that at any computer, I will see this rearrangement of the layout. So now what happens that I have more space. I don't know what I have here. So then I can read more the ancestor windows at the same time that I may be using ChatGPT or Google, whatever. I even have a space for a second tab. Let's say this. I do care about this one. I have more space whenever I need to. I can have that with all of the width I want to. But wait. That's just my now default. What happens that when I open, let's say, I'm in the knowledge tree in the other monitor. I open biology. What happens now? I have this in the other monitor because it's using my browser layout. So if I want, I could have the browser in my second monitor as well. Because keep in mind, the browser can be open and I can still do the learning with the browser open. So it's like less important, but good to know to have it there. Good to have it just standing there if I need to. It's taking a lot of space, and usually what happens in Supermemo is that the window falls behind the main window. So even if it's there, like now, you cannot see it. Stuff like this. A different thing you may want to is to maximize this reading space. So I have reset that. So what I want is absolutely to maximize everything. Come on. This may happen that I are reset for whatever reason. So now I maximize and all of the screen is just the element window. Full screen. Keep in mind, to use Supermemo is the only window you're required to have. If I open this window, if I close this window, Supermemo will close down. That's not true for any other window. I can close the window and only that window will disappear. So now what I can have, if I want to, is to have this in full. Not even. I don't have enough space here. This here. Let me do it more or less like that. Oh yeah, it fits. And ancestors. That's it. Whoop. I don't want that. And here, if I want, I can leave some space left for Discord, Slack, Gmail, whatever you may want to check time to time. That's another option. And I give all the protagonism to the element window. So I can have larger pictures if I want to. Let me actually do some example. Oh, come on. So what happened is that I wanted to populate the images, but I still haven't saved the layout, so it did reset. Come on. Well, just to let you know that this will happen, so take this into account. Now I will just do it quickly. You get the point anyways. Pum 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 pum. The ancestor is not that needed anyways, but. And I save this layout. I may call it a different, like full screen, whatever. I will just overwrite it for simplicity. Okay, what may happen, the bug I tell you at the beginning is that when you have a second monitor, that the height is larger. So, and larger like this, it will reset to the height of the first monitor. So I perhaps wanted to have a huge knowledge tree like this in vertical. But for now, because of the bug, it will be reset at all times. So I cannot use that. How you know that? Let's put the YouTube again. That's how I started the video. Then I apply again my laptop, and they are in the same place, more or less. But if I increase it like this, let's open so it's meaningful. Okay, everything is filled. Then I save the layout with the same name. Then I reapply it. Boom. You see that it has been resized at some degree. So keep that in mind. And finally, next level is to have two collections at the same time. So let me actually change the theme so it's easier to distinguish collections. Yes, so actually that's another bug that I discovered during the recording of this. Sometimes it's just harmless. Sometimes it's buggy that you need to restart Supermemo, but it's not a feature breaking. So now I have this collection, and I want to open a different one at the same time. Let's say my slides collection. Okay, so now I have my slides collection and my learning collection, and they're using different themes, so it's easier to follow. So what I will do first, in this case I'm showing the background. I'm not showing the background. Desktop. So what I will click is Window and Background, or Control Alt F10. Now it's black because black is actually my background, my genuine background in Windows. So now I can see the other collection. So what I could do, in this case, I'm using a full HD screen, so it's a lower resolution for today's standard. But if you have a 4K monitor, you may want to use this solution. So one is that you could have the second collection in the second monitor altogether, or mixing both in the main monitor and all of those tiny windows on the second monitor. I will do this first. In this case, I will only want this. And remember that the layouts are standalone. In this case, I'm editing two layouts at the same time, one for each collection. Oh my god. So it's not the best experience, but it can still be done. So what I will do is just one collection at a time. Okay, more or less. I will do this. Save. Layout. And I will call it A. Now, the other one, the other collection, that would be, I will call this layout B. And it will be, I don't know, one knowledge tree. Why every time I don't want a knowledge tree, it resets? Come on. Well, for the sake of simplicity, I will leave the knowledge tree because it's messing with me now. And I will have the ancestors, window, layout, save custom layout, and I will call it B. So now I can use this collection. Review. Prescriptionality is throughout to ancestral of beards, death, boom. And I say put here language learning. Now what happens that's not a genuine collection of mine. So the color is off, the color contrast, but you get the point. So if you want to interleave, micro interleave collections, even though they are different collections, because you may want to keep different collections because if it's a lot harder, you want the stats not interfere with the collection level stats, whatever that may be. Is, hey, I can do this. Exotic. Wow, forgot about that. Hey, let me continue with this. So now I'm ignoring the other window because now my point is to micro interleave the repetitions. So this could be interesting for you if you have a space in your collection and you want two collections at the same time. I might actually do it, this option. Or one is for writing and the other one is for incremental reading. Or you want the school collection in one side, but because it's so tedious and so coerced, you will feel pain. You want to interleave with a meaningful collection with your free learning. So you have one next to each other. And if you need, oh, let me check this, or let me check the priority. Oh, there's no template. Let me select the template. Keep in mind, you need to know which one is active, which window is active, because the one that is active will trigger the key binding. So in this case, I want to change the template. It's, hey, why it's not working? Okay, it's because it was not selected. Perhaps it's not the best choice because the color doesn't change, the header, only the bolding of the text is subtle, but it's enough that, oh, that means it's active, therefore I'm changing the template in this collection, or I'm changing the template of this other collection. How cool is that? And the last is that I could just have this. I could do any combination. And then I could have, now that's the recording software. Imagine this is Discord or whatever I may want to use. So it's in my screen at all times. I could combine as much as you want. This is dual screen. I don't have 3 screens. My graphic card cannot have 3 screens at the same time. I don't know if Supermemo, I may be assuming that Supermemo works with 3 screens at the same time. So at least that's a new flow that you can have with Supermemo. And I think one of the best candidates is 2 collections or to have the browser because of the AI. So now we have seen all of these layouts. If we go to the manager, we have our version of the browser, the classic, our version of the contents, a full customized layout, the course, and the built-in warrior that we save it. Nice. This is actually stored in a file. That means that you can use this file and copy and paste that file for your convenience. If you ever use Supermemo in a different computer, or you want to restore, you have customized a lot experience, oh shoot, I messed up, you reapply. Or perhaps you reinstalled Supermemo or updated, and you misclick yes and no, and you have overwritten the layouts. So you have the default experience. It's, oh my god, do I need to redo all of the layouts once again? No, you don't. So where you need to go is where you have the installation files. So in my case, it's C drive, Supermemo, and bin, the bin folder. And you have the layout.ini. You open this, and it says layout number. I have 6. And what you see here is the same you see here. Those 6, the order. And it says the coordinates of the element window, where it is, boom. The contents window, where it is, boom. The statistics, boom. Parameters, could be the element data, I don't know, boom. And some other stuff. If you have the status bar activated or not, if you have the background or not, and stuff like that. So that's the warrior. Then I have the contents. Do you see that the contents, I have the contents window? The course, pam. Let us use this guy is changing dynamically. The classic, pam. The browser, boom. So if you copy this, you will have all of the coordinates. Or, if you will, instead of trying to move the windows like with a surgeon precision, you just do it here. No, oh, this was meant to be 64. Boom. And this will be 64 as well. 1064. And that was meant 356. Boom. So you are super precise. You save the contents. Okay. Now, when I apply the classic, no worries. If this happens, hover, minimize it, maximize it, and here you go. Now, theoretically, if I press F5 to trigger the warrior, it will be some pixels off. Oh, it's really hard to tell. Okay, let me do something more drastic so it's actually easier. I will actually modify mine. So the course, okay. Let's see the course. It's like this, right? So I'm going to modify the contents window. Nice. So course. Now the contents window, I will put, instead of 500, I will put 1500, something crazy. I save the contents. So once I do reapply it, hey, what's happening? Now, if I open the file once again, contents, but it's not affecting, right? Let me add one here. Here you go. Do you see now it's massive? It doesn't even fit my screen. Nice. So that was to make my point. So now I can resize it manually. Pum. Or I can, now I could save it once again, layout, save custom layout, and course, or I just blatantly edit again the file, and I delete the, I think that was 800 and something. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, here you go. Oh, it's still massive. It didn't. So I need to close it down, I think. 1 second. To force the update. Yeah, it's still massive, no worries. It's very buggy. The element data, if you have the element data like this, with a lot of tabs collapsed, it will be expanding every single time. It's very inconvenient. Again, one of the many bugs that will never be fixed. But once you do all of the layouts, there's nothing you can worry. Save and course. Nice. So that's a little trick for one. Back up your layouts. If you ever lose them, you can quickly restore the ones you had. Second, you can fully be precise that, hey, do you see there's a pixel off here? You can be precise to the pixel if you really want to maximize the space, or you don't want any empty space and so on. It's better if you do it via the INI file instead. And it's something I will do, by the way. Once I do the course extras, I will provide these files for you that, hey, you have full resolution and full HD resolution, boom. You have a 4K monitor, boom. So you will have more or less the suggested layouts, fine-tuned to the millimeter, to the pixel, for your convenience. So it's okay, good to know how it is, but you already have once suggested. So if you don't want to bother, just install that file, and as easy as that. And which file will be this one, the layout. You will just drag and drop to here, boom, overwrite the one that is there, as easy as that. So now that we have opened Supermemo for the first time, and we are still with the default beginner level, we can just start because we have some options. So let's start with help. Welcome ABC. Usually it's very likely that you will open the ABC collection that is built in with the installation. So when you install Supermemo, whatever version you install, you will get the ABC collection accordingly. So if you use Supermemo 19, ABC for 19. You install the 18, ABC for 18, and so on. So the good option would be that, oh yeah, welcome ABC. What is this? This just opens a page in the browser from the Supermemo help wiki. One of the wikis, by the way, and more or less you have the description of the first steps of the ABC collection. Well, just the first. And then some links. Beginner, FAQ, how to backup, 20 rules, Supermemo decalog, incremental learning, your first Supermemo collection, pleasure of learning. So the most important relevant articles for a beginner. There are plenty of golden nuggets there. But what happens? That you need to import this yourself, read this yourself, put a lot of effort. And most of the time, even though the target says beginner, they don't adapt to beginners. They use straight all of the jargon, Supermemo jargon that you need to know. And sometimes the description of something includes reference to other jargon. So you need to cross-reference multiple times until you get, okay, now I know what you mean. Or, like incremental learning, it's massive. If I open that, look at this. Only the table of contents is massive. So this is very daunting at the beginning because it's way too much, right? That's why, by the way, why I'm doing this course. So it's just to let you know that anytime you can just go there. If you forgot, oh, what was there? Oh, which wiki? Supermemo Guru? Yeah, the .net, .org, .com, just go here. Help and welcome. That's it. By the way, I will cover most of the content of that website, of those articles. So let's say that you have finished the Supermemo collection, the ABC of Supermemo. So then is, what do I do, right? Okay, so there are several things. One, very easily, is that everything was pending, and when you did the first repetition, it became memorized. And what happens, let me see one example. Exactly. So here you had the sentence in a topic, and then you have the close deletion. What you will do with Alt-Z, right? So in fact, this now is useless. So what you will do is Ctrl-Shift-Enter to apply done. So click on learn, nothing more to learn. In the next day, whatever become outstanding, you will see that, hey, again, it's the same thing. It's because I didn't create the close deletion. It was already there. Like a pre-done incremental reading for you, right? So that's one factor. You will be dismissing this and applying done, so it becomes a folder. and you keep the child. Easy. Then I strongly suggest to get rid of those. What is this? Repetitio master studorium est. Interesting title. Let me Google this, by the way. It's something I never paid attention. Repetition is the mother of studying. Okay, so look, it's something unrelated, but I just noticed the title of this item is not the question at all. And I just Googled that, and hey, that's Latin. What is the meaning of this? Repetition is the mother of studying or learning. Nice. Quite off topic, but good to know. Now, this question, what do you do with this? I will just straight delete it. I will perhaps just apply done in this case, because now I have a children. So let's say I got something from this element. Then for those flashcards that have images, what I would do is have the image on the components, because that's how Supermemo is meant to be used. Before that, I will apply the template with pictures, because I already have this. So Alt-Shift-K, here you go. Oh, it's not this one exactly, my mistake. It's this one. And then it's part of the answer. Right click, answer. Easy. So now, here you go. I could leave the picture here if I want. It's prone to breaking, so anytime it will be gone in the future anyways. But you want to keep it like this. So you will also do that. Recommended. Then what you could also do is be more atomic. To import a web particle in Supermemo, I get rid of this, so it's only the first way. From the browser or Supermemo, copy selected text. What? I don't get it. Ah yeah, if you import from your web browser, it will copy the selected text. Exactly. Or not, because there are some bugs. But in this case I want this to be more atomic. So import a web article to Supermemo, use like this. And it will be those. This button or Control N. This is more atomic. So you will do it like that. What is the key binding then for this one? It's Control C. And so on. Same here. I don't have an image. I apply the... Oh, it's an article. Okay, then in that case I don't care. Because then I will apply done, because I have the same content already on the children. And then I have this, the arrow, right? Okay. So I will apply the item picture. Then let me take a look with Ctrl-Shift-K. Let me take a look if I have this already. Yeah, here you go. Back, navigation bar. Click on insert. Nice. It's part of the answer, Clack. Okay. I just right click the image component and click on answer. Now it's the same image. So easy. Ctrl-Shift-M, item picture, select the component, Ctrl-Shift-K, back navigation bar. Easy. But now this is part of the question. So I don't need to click for the answer. As easy as that. So overall, for items, I deleted the multiple choice questions. There are 2 or 3. And I'm putting the inline images on the corresponding components, image components. And then for the topics, the ones that are like this, I just apply done to convert them into folders. And that's pretty much it. And then you will finish here. Then what you would do is import that. So let me check this, 25 steps. Okay, so according to my genuine opinion, that's not Supermemo mastery. It's just fluency with some holes still. That's the focus on priorities, for instance. And this looks like a continuation of the ABC collection. So, okay, now I'm going to import that. So let me do it quickly. Nice. And I will be processing this. It's like I did the first step, the ABC, right? Now I have the other steps. Cool. And this is just a link. It's not an article. It's just the website. This is the same if I go to the help and those options. Contents, FAQ, or web, and Supermemopedia, and online help, and all of that. Now let me check this. Be a pleasure. What is that? The article pleasure of learning. It's okay. It's not about Supermemo. It's more about the philosophy. But if you're not into that yet, you can also import it. Here you go. And from now on, everything will be either dismissed because you applied done, or will be items. So eventually, you will only have, everything will be processed, so you only have what you originally imported. And from now on, you can build on top of that and start your own incremental reading experience. Another option is, I want to start fresh. So you just go to File and create a new collection, brand new. Depends what you want. If it's just the name, remember, you can change the name of the element here. For instance, my collection. That is now tools, rename collection. And instead of ABC, it will be my collection. Nice. I can also apply this done so I don't see the ads. Here you go. And one final detail is the concept. As the concept registry member is not ABC, and it will be tool rename. It will be root. Nice. So even though that was the ABC collection, I made it my own. And that I don't want the backup, which I don't suggest to use the solution, the built-in backup solution. I will just delete this. I don't care. Delete, delete, delete. Gone. Because I will be using an efficient backup solution. Because that's not a backup, it's a full copy every time. There are many cons for that. So now you make it your own, or you start at a brand new collection, and the ABC is part of the story. It's part of the history already. Cool, right? By the way, I will make my own version of the ABC collection according to my criteria. Eventually this will be done. Once it's done, it will be linked in this video. But for now, that's enough. So that's the ABC collection. In my case, it's brand new still, but let's say that you went through it. It's what I'm going to do now. Okay, that's the final element for the reading. Do you see? Finally, nothing more to learn. That is because nothing is outstanding. No worries about exactly what it means. We will cover this very soon. Because the point of this video is, okay, now I'm done. I read all of the ABC collection. Now what do I do? Do I continue? So I open those links and I import those and I continue this collection? Or do I start a brand new collection instead? To be honest, it doesn't make much of a difference. Depends if you want to keep this. Or my own collection, original collection, is the ABC. It doesn't look like the ABC, right? The collection I have used in many videos. Why? Because at the end of the day, I have deleted most of the elements, or I changed those elements, and this I can rename it. So this is no longer the ABC collection. This will be my collection. My knowledge, or your name, whatever you want to call it, right? And here usually what I did in my case, it's Pleasurable Learning Supermemo, just because I shoot videos, not because I really want to have that in my private collection. But hey, the name of the collection is still the same, but as we will see, I can rename it. And it will be My first collection. Awesome. So what's the name of the collection? Do you remember what we have seen? Here it says, my first collection. What is this? Is the information panel of what? The navigation bar of the element window. And here is my root element, my collection. And now imagine that I delete all of this. Or I process it, pam. Now for the sake of the video, I will pretend this has been read. I only kept what I wanted. Or the links I went through. Then my question is, what's the difference now with a brand new collection? Virtually the same. There's some nuisance that is not the same because I have done some repetitions and something that accumulates. So even the stats are default. But just to let you know, some files that are saved in the collection are there. But the difference is technical. In the practical sense, there's no difference. And if you wanted to save something, you will have those few items that you wanted to keep. If now I go to my collection, I customized how it looks, but that was the ABC as well. And I also customized the name. The exact same thing. Just that here in the hierarchy, somewhere I will have Supermemo, that I will have, let's say, I don't know, 10, 15 items or top or elements from the ABC collection. But they don't look the same because I have applied my own templates and so on. So, but it's just this as an example that it doesn't matter how you start because the collections are dynamic. And there's a lot of redundancy. You can reach to the same point in many different ways, different order. You can perhaps do the same thing in different order or different things and still get the same result in Supermemo. So no worries. That, I have lost the ABC collection, I don't have it anymore. No worries. With this course, you don't need the ABC collection at all. Let's say that you messed up. You deleted by accident the ABC collection. Hey, how we can get this collection once again? Because I cannot download it from the Supermemo store, right? Easy. Close down Supermemo. So we're going to do a very quick fix. So just run the installation again. Do you see you have the inst? That's not the executable file. It's the installation that will download the latest Supermemo. So in my case, I have more versions. I have the 18 and 17. I don't want to update. So click install, and I will select the same one. In my case, the 19 now. Nice. Then do you see it's downloading? ABC of Supermemo, once again. So even though I already had all of the binary files, what I didn't have is the collection. So now I need to register once again. Okay, the password, here you go. As easy as that. Now professional level. Oh, what you may lose are the layouts. Okay. So in that case, you may want a different folder. So you get the ABC collection, but you don't reset everything. So you keep your layouts. If that's your strategy, then it's still very easy. Let's say that I did the custom folder of Supermemo 19. So first, I will make sure that Supermemo is not running. And then what I will do is go to Systems. That's not the collection I wanted. Is where it is. Here. ABC, so I select the folder and the KNO file. And I go here and I paste it. It's also valid strategy. And the one I indicate if you have multiple layouts. Now, if I open it again, now I have my layouts, the course that I have. And at the same time, now I can go and open my recent copy of the ABC collection. Yes. So I didn't, and if I do care now, I will uninstall Supermemo that I did inside. So I will be running this uninstaller, so I don't have the second copy of Supermemo 19. So that's a quick trick you can use. Feel free to watch the video of uninstalling. There's nothing fancy. And that's a quick tip. Now I have the brand new, once again, untouched ABC collection. That everything is dismissed and so on. Could be cool if you just tried for a few hours, you moved on, you go back after a few weeks or months, and oh yeah, what it is, or I deleted, boom, you start from scratch. Hope this is helpful. So you may have just installed Supermemo, and the first thing that appears is this collection, the ABC for Supermemo. This collection is the same for every version. It's been many years that this practice is consistent. They're just fine-tuned, adjusted of each version. So what I'm going to show you is just an overview of this collection, and I will focus on what I think that suffers from old age, is perhaps a simplification, oversimplification, because the intention is that you know just the basics of Supermemo, so you can just use it, at least with few clicks. But at least according to me, there's some stuff that I won't do it if it was me. One of the big factors is that what you will see in this collection are outliers. Something that is very rare in Supermemo, and it will give you the impression that that's common. It's how it's supposed to be. To the point that could be even misleading, misrepresenting Supermemo quite deeply, at least to my understanding. So let's do this. I will skip fast-paced because you feel free to use the collection yourself, but I will go to the point of what I don't match with Supermemo. Okay, how Supermemo works, very high-level overview. Basically, you keep clicking next repetition, right? Nice. Then notice this, that is an image component. Do you see icon grades and grades in Supermemo? Nice. This is important because eventually, like here, that's not a common practice. Not only that, you should not do that. It's an inline image inside what's called HTML component. And it's especially true in the case, here we go once again, as a flashcard. So part of the answer includes two images. I can know that if I see the source, it's actually using a GIF and a JPEG. But look at that. It's using relative directories, URLs, paths. This is very prone to break, so the link breaks, and it's not really enforced. You should never use that solution. I know that perhaps you come from Anki and it's very convenient to have the images right away with the text, but in Supermemo, you need to use the registry. That's a very bad practice. It's just a matter of time that this breaks. It's not future-proof. So what you could do is insert those images, and that's how it's meant to be used. But yeah, that doesn't look as fancy, right? On the side. Then I will click, by the way, answer and answer. So now the flashcard looks like this. It's not aesthetic, but that's how it should be done in Supermemo. So the ABC collection is kind of misleading you. And what you will want to do is reproduce this strategy. Another one that I skipped is this. What is this? Never, absolutely never, use multiple choice questions for space repetition. In a space repetition, the questions are just a tool to reach to one specific memory, so you have the ability, the chance, the opportunity to recall it. And when you have this retrieval, you keep this on memory. That's why you do spaced repetition, to avoid the forgetting. You want to revisit that memory as least as possible, enough to keep it on your long-term memory. That's a different way how you ask the questions. It's not a question as a reading comprehension, but as a hook to trigger that memory. Oh, you remember that day we went to visit this, ta, 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 ta. Oh yeah, pam. It's a different story. Therefore, in the only scenario that multiple choice question is justified is if you have an artificial need imposed by the school system, that you need to do an exam which format is multiple choice questions. Other than that, never in your life use multiple choice questions. It's the worst. The worst. It will weaken your recall, it will mess up your semantic connections, you will learn possibly jargon or fake stuff, the distractors. There's nothing positive. Nothing positive. Please, even if you have seen this in the ABC collection, don't ever use this strategy. Let me answer the question. When do you make a repetition of a given piece of knowledge, assuming within Supermemo? Select the correct answer. This is already a shitty question, because the correct answer depends on the options I have. It's not universal. So given the options I have, meaning is dependent on the question, it's not the question itself, the question and the answers as a whole, then I could get the answer. This is already shitty. I must find the question and press Ctrl N. I clicked by accident. Wrong. Every day. Supermemo decides the right time. For instance, in a month. It's not necessary to make repetitions, or I make a repetition only after all questions have been answered. My genuine answer, all of wrong. Yes, Supermemo decides the right time to schedule the repetition. But the question doesn't say when it is scheduled. When a given piece of knowledge is scheduled. It's when you use. It's when you make the repetition. You perform the repetition. That's not the answer to this question. It will be on the outstanding date. Therefore, when Supermemo algorithm decided to become outstanding, that this will be scheduled that day or later, because I may have done the repetition a few days later, or weeks, or months, and if you are a long-term user, even years later. So that's not correct. It's correct. In this array of possibilities is the one that makes more sense, but it's not necessarily correct. You know what I mean? Let me see the other ones. 1 second. Okay, another one. How many times does Supermemo ask you a given question, like this one? Let's see the option. I already at least like the question, regardless if it's multiple choice or not. Only once. You never see the question again. Several times on a single day. And never again in the future. As often as possible, if you have the patience to answer. Several times in the future, such as 10 times in a lifetime, or as many times as you want. Which one is correct? None. None or several, depends on your interpretation. The one I think they meant is this one. Yeah, several times in the future. Meaning that if you never lapse that flashcard, you always succeed to successfully recall, you will see it a bunch of times because the interval keeps growing and in the years. So next interval will be already outliving you. You will die before making the next repetition. So it could be 10, 15, 8, depending on many factors. Okay, gotcha. But what happens several times on a single day? This can be true. For instance, if I have the final drill, or as many times as you want to be asked, yes, in the final rail. It goes until I press 4 or 5, it will keep showing me this in a loop, ad infinitum, until some days have passed and that element quits the final rail. So what I would do instead is, first, there's more information embedded in this question. Is there a maximum interval? Yes. 120 years, which would be the equivalent that it's enough that it will outlive you. So it keeps increasing forever. Nice. Is there a minimum interval? Yes, and it's 1 day. That's a piece of knowledge already. That means that in normal circumstances, I won't have several times the same card in a single day, unless I use, for instance, the final rail, or I add to outstanding manually, or the user has overrides using some features and forces this case. It's possible. And Supermemo will log those repetitions on the same day for the same item. And never again in the feature. Yes? Let's say it's in the final rail. I see it again and again and again. You know what? I don't want that. Poop. And I delete the element. This satisfies. As many times as I want. Could be. And on top of that, the question says, ask you a given question. No. What you are presented is an item. And an item has a question. So it's not about scheduling the questions, are items at the end of the day. That's why this strategy is absolute crap. Don't use multiple choice questions. There are a lot of nuances not taken into place, and the reasoning to discard distractors is no longer atomic. Minimum interval, what other features can have more repetitions on the same day, worthless. Let me see if there's another one. Okay, nothing more to learn. So, what happened? That I just got exposed to several items, flashcards, and it's just multiple choice, absolutely terrible, or close deletions. And some close deletions have this practice, once again, that they use inline images in the HTML. So already 2 bad practices from the beginning. So if I know nothing, I will think that that's how it is. That Supermemo is meant to be used this way, when it's not. And on top of that, almost everything was pending. And the pending queue is almost never used. On top of that, do you see the parents? So you have, it's a good purpose, but the close relation has been performed already. So you see the result, the children, and the parent now doesn't make any purpose. So you could apply done here, because it's unlikely you will do more close relations here. And second, this is also uncommon. So they haven't fine-tuned this, so you have italics, bold, all of that. That is very likely you will do this yourself in the incremental reading process. Like hint, with this styling, all of that. So that's not how your flashcards from incremental reading will look like. So overall, I just did this collection in 5 minutes as a user, and I see pending queue that theoretically you're not going to use. I see images inside HTML components instead of the registry, and I see multiple choice questions. It's hard to see them because it's not using the template. It looks like the template, but it's not applied. So overall, there are only 29 flashcards at the end of the day. They will look like this. You make the isolation and you have it on the back. That's it. And another practice would be like this. And again, the flashcard here will be what you see in blue. All of those hints are optional and usually won't look like this. So it will look something like that most of the time. So in this video, I just focused on those key points. There's more in the collection that I skipped, but it's just to emphasize what you see in this collection doesn't represent incremental reading, how it will be used most of the time. Some cases, like the pending queue, are outliers, and then the multiple choice question and the inline images are just blatantly no-nos. Something you'll never see. So, remember, this collection is just a very simple preview, not enough for the basics, and I hope with my message I came across those 3 factors that can be misleading. That's all for now. See you incrementally.